Okay, I think I am live. Weird that YouTube told me that my stream status was bad until I went live, and now it thinks it's great, or my connection was bad. I don't know what that's all about. Now I'm going to sit here and wait for just a second before I start to make sure that audio and everything is working. Maybe someday. I wish there wasn't such a long delay on this. Come on. You can play. Maybe I need to refresh it. Maybe? Is that... maybe it's a terrible idea. I don't know. Let's find out what happens when I hit refresh here. Because this is a longer than usual delay. There we go. Okay, yep, looks like that was my problem. Now let's see if I've got audio. Yep, there's audio. Okay, we are good. There we go. Okay, and you know what? I'm going to be the opposite of my usual jerky self who forgets to mention this. I'm just going to mention it at the beginning, mention it again later. I want to thank my moderators who are helping today, Valerie and Joseph. They both have awesome art channels. The link is in the video description. Make sure to check them out, subscribe, tell them thank you, because they help me so, so much. So, let's see. Audio is low. Hold on. Let me decide for myself. Is it too low? You know what? Mine's turned up. I can hear it. Just turn up your speakers. Is that a good solution, or am I just being ridiculous? It could be either way. Okay, there's a hair in my face. That is an annoying feeling. Like one hair. Come on. Come on. Come on. There we go. Okay, we are good. Yes, record. Thank you. Okay, so tonight I am working again on the same one that I started last week. I actually didn't work too much on this last week for good reason. I actually, if you were here at the end of my live stream maybe 2 weeks ago, I mentioned that I wanted to have a table made over my dog crate, and one of you guys, Lonnie Wolf, actually contacted me saying that she can do that, and she did and delivered it. And so I spent the whole, like, all day Sunday I worked on that, and then I couldn't really work in here because it was taking up my entire studio for waiting for the stain to dry for a couple of days. So I've done very little on this. Dog crate looks amazing, by the way. You can see that on Instagram. I need to get better photos of that. But anyway, that is why I have done very, very little. I basically just was lazy. I did work on postcards for Patreon this week. Gosh, I'm so behind on those right now. So March will be going out soon. I'm waiting for my stamps to get here, but they're labeled. And now we can start on hair. So let's move that a little bit. So this photo, again, the dress was designed by Jimmy the Dressmaker. You can follow him on Instagram if you want. He's one of my friends here in North Texas. You can follow him on Instagram and see some of the other designs he's been working on. He's been working on like these themed dresses. Like he's got this one was a Beetlejuice one. He's got what was the other one? A Wednesday Addams one. He's also learning to draw. He's taking an art class and learning to do these design sketches, which are really cool. He is progressing super fast. So anyway, his link is in the description along with the photographer and the model, who are all local to North Texas. So let's go ahead and let me zoom in on her hair. Where is my mouse? There it is. Zoom in on her hair. So what I'm doing with this one, this section is going to be mostly black and white, but then I'm going to throw some purple and green on it, so it has that Beetlejuice feel just for this portion of her head and hair. And then the rest is all going to be normal color and just her normal, like the way her makeup actually was in person, all of that. So this, now I'm going to start working on the brown hair. I'm not finishing this section of the hair, but the important thing to notice, and it's the same thing that I'm going to be working on over here. You want to start, when you're working on hair, don't sit there with a pencil. Let me grab one. I'll actually show you. You don't want to sit there and go one long strand all the way down. That is not going to look realistic. What you want to do instead is look at the clumps and clusters. Look where it twists and turns and create these bigger shapes. Yeah, you'll put in individual strands, but you're not going to try to draw in every single strand to make it all look realistic. It's just not going to look realistic that way. You'll end up looking like zombie hair, like something that's not been washed in ever. So we don't want dirty models. So in this case, I don't want her hair to look like that. I want to make sure that I'm getting these clumps and clusters. And again, this isn't done because I'm going to be putting other colors on top of it, but that's a good example at that stage to show you where it's just blocked in the general movement of her hair. I can come back in later, and I will come back in later and add those individual strands. But when you're first starting out, it's usually a lot easier just to look at the clumps and clusters as it turns and twists. And especially here, because of the way that her hair is curled, people will often, I don't think I have a sketch pad over here, but they'll want to do like the loop-de-loo twists. That doesn't look like, that's not what curly hair looks like. It's just not. So look at always clumps and clusters when you're looking at hair. Okay, so I actually don't want gray for this portion. I hope I have enough brown prints. I should have placed an order. I am really low on a few of these colors, so I need to go shopping on probably Dick Blick to replace a bunch of these. Let me see what colors I want to use for this. She's got this gold brown tone in her hair. So the colors, I'm just grabbing a bunch of my different browns. And I've got one, I don't know how much I'll use this one. I've got this burnt ochre. It might be a little too, it's kind of an orange color that might work. I don't know. Worst case scenario, it doesn't work. I'll try it. If it doesn't work, I'll go over it. Don't get too freaked out over color. It seems to be the thing that most people kind of panic about. They're so worried about choosing the exact right color that they put too much pressure on themselves for that part. Your values are what matters. Get your dark enough, your light's light enough. If I use a brown pencil, it'll work. It looks like hair. I mean, that's not the important part to me. The important part is go dark enough on the darks, go light enough on the lights. That's what's going to make it look realistic, not choosing the absolute perfect color. Okay, and we've got some dark areas. Okay, we'll start with these pencils. I'll probably throw quite a few more. And now when I do the base, it really does not matter if I have this perfect with color. I'm going to be putting so many layers on top of this. So we have a question from Clarice. How important do you think Twitter is for artists? If so, any tips for it? You know, I don't use Twitter as much. Actually, I take that back. Lately, I kind of like Twitter a little bit more just because it seems to, I don't know, because I have less followers there, there's less pressure than like Facebook. I have so many messages and stuff every time I open it that I get overwhelmed. I'm like, I can't answer these. I'm too busy, right? You know, I can't get everything done and I end up not using it as much. But Twitter, I don't know that it's a must for artists. I think Instagram is right now one of the more useful ones for artists, just the way the platform works, and that may change over time. Twitter, I use mostly because I personally enjoy it. I try to avoid anything with a bunch of politics and all that stuff. I just want to see, like, I think that's part of what I'm overwhelmed with Facebook too. I swear every time you open it, it's like you get bombarded with everybody's opinions that I don't need to hear. That's not what I go on social media for. So that is definitely, for me, one of the things that I've been using Twitter more for is just, I don't follow that many people, so mostly artists. So I don't think it's a must, but I personally enjoy it. But Instagram, I would say, is pretty, it's easier, I think, to grow a following on Instagram because it's so visual and because we're posting photos. And it's not that you can't do that on Twitter, but Twitter, it's hard. It seems to me to be a little bit harder to grow Twitter than it was to grow Instagram. So that is, I don't know that I'm an expert when it comes to that, but that is how I see that. Okay, let's see. We've got Jesse James Ramirez said the other day, I actually saw this model on Jimmy's Instagram wearing the dress. Isn't she gorgeous? I was like, I've got to talk him into talking her into being a mermaid for me in a painting. I think she's so gorgeous. Anyway, that kind of sounds creepy, huh? Because it's funny, whenever I talk about how attractive a model is that I'm painting or drawing, it doesn't sound creepy to me because I don't, like, I'm never going to come in contact with that person, and I'm just judging the aesthetics for the painting. And because she actually lives in this area, I'm like, I feel kind of creepy actually saying that. Let's see. Meet the Papito said, do you have any tips to do hair fur for a digital piece? You know, it's going to be the same. Digital and, I guess I can get started while I sit here chatting. Digital and, oh no, we want lighter than that. That'll work. Okay, so Van Dyke Brown. Yeah, good enough. We'll use that. Digital and traditional media, they follow so much of the same rules. There's really not a huge difference. You're going to layer. You're going to still do the clumps and clusters. It's the same. You want to vary your brush size. Don't have everything the same. It's really easy to make everything too much the same when you're working digital. Switch your brushes. Just like you would in painting, switch those brushes up so you can get some that are thicker, some that are thinner. Have some edges that are soft, some edges that are much more crisp. Be aware of that. And I think that's one of the bigger mistakes when someone, especially if you're just starting with digital, I see where a lot of people will, everything's too fuzzy, so it's almost like everything's out of focus. Watch for that. But the same things that I'm doing here and the tips I will be giving you, it's really the same for digital. I would be doing it almost the exact same way. That's why when I started doing digital painting, it wasn't that big of a learning curve for me because it's so similar. I mean, with art in general, any medium, when you switch from one medium to the next, there's not that big of a, I mean, you have to learn certain techniques, but that's why, like an artist who's been an artist for, well, we'll use me for an example. I've been doing this for a very long time. I can take up, you know, a medium that I've only used once or twice and have it look good as or close to a medium that I've been using for 20 years, because it's the same. You're worried about your contrast, your composition. I mean, all of those things apply no matter what medium you're working in. So the tips that I'll be giving for this are going to be very, very similar, the way that I'm building this up as what I would do personally in digital. Kitty, whoops, and scroll too far, go back up. Kitty Ring said, hi Lisa, watching all your videos. Oh, thanks. You have inspired the 76-year-old to pick up her paintbrush again. That is awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Could you have used your honesty? Oh, thank you. Could have used your honesty many years ago. Well, that's good to hear. Caitlin Inspires said, hey Lisa, I just joined Fine Art America and I'm wondering if you have any tips on how to make my first sale. I messaged you on there, by the way, so you can see my art. I don't check those. This sounds terrible, but I just don't check those messages. So I'm sorry. I haven't seen it. That sounds so mean. But anyway, with Fine Art America, I don't find that you're really going to make much in the way of sales through advertising on Fine Art America. Through, like, some people will join different communities and they try to push their stuff that way. It's not that effective. The most effective way, if you want to get a sale, is treat Fine Art America like you would your own website, in which case you've got to advertise on social media, on your website, what you have available. Through Fine Art America itself, people don't typically like go there going, okay, I'm gonna go search for an artist and find someone there. It happens, but it's not that common. You're going to get the most sales from getting people who know your work outside. Oh, this is actually decent for a base. It's not the right color. It's kind of a little bit gold, but for a base layer, this will work for my highlight. Anyway, post on it on, if you've got an email list, you can post it there. I need to start doing that more. I don't do it enough. You can post it on, you know, Instagram when you have new prints. Now, don't do it too much. Watch that with social media. I've talked about this before. You don't want to turn your social media into nonstop. Look what I have for sale. Go buy this from me. But you can still do it a heck of a lot more than I do. I'm really bad about that. I don't do it often enough. So don't use me as an example of how often to post that stuff. But don't do it every single post. I've seen the other extreme where people, every single post is, here's a print, here's a print, here's another print. That gets overwhelming and you don't tend to make sales that way either. So definitely post on your social media though. Let people know that way. That is going to give you the best chance of making a sale. Let's see. And just throw this out there. I had somebody complain, and it was actually very rude, that she claimed after my live stream last week that I ignore people who don't pay me, people who aren't on Patreon, that I don't answer your questions on the live stream. That is 100% so over the top not true. That is not ever how it's been for me. They thought that they had to donate money on the super chat or something. That's never ever affected whether or not I answer your question. Highlight the names. You see these highlights of, like, where Gail Perkins just has at Lachri Fine Art, the at symbol, and then Lachri Fine Art. If your question did not light up in orange, I don't see it. And so that's why I don't answer. It has zero things to do with whether or not you're a patron or whether or not you've donated. That is not what these live streams are about. So I don't want there to be any misunderstanding, because I know that lady seemed quite unhappy and lectured me about people who don't have money. It was weird. Anyway, so point is, that has nothing to do with it. Just make sure if that question's not highlighted in orange, I just don't see it. So speaking of Gail Perkins, she said, I agree, her eyes are just stunning. Oh yeah, this girl is beautiful. Space Traveler, see, I sound creepy again because she lives in this area. Sorry girl, if you ever see this. I can't remember her name. Why am I so bad? I want to say Michaela. Was that right? It's in the description. I should stop being lazy and look, but I'm just too lazy. Space Traveler said, why do you start with the hair? So for me, one of the reasons I start with the hair, because if I start with the face, I'm working up against a light background around it, and it's harder for me to judge my values. And I do this every time I work on a portrait, because especially if it's white paper, it's even worse. But I have a tendency not to get the skin tones dark enough. A very common problem that a lot of portrait artists have, especially, newer portrait artists, is that the skin tones, they always make everything look super, super light. You would not believe how many photographs or paintings I've seen newer portrait artists do of white Will Smith. It happens all the time. We all want to go too light. So if I can get the darks in, my darkest values in first, which are typically going to be the hair and the eyes, when I get those in, it makes it way easier for me to judge the values and get the skin tones the right value. So that is why for me, I start with the hair. And I don't usually, I'll go back and finish the hair after I get the skin in, because I'll have to overlay some or overlap some of the individual strands. But this, it just makes it easier for me. Like my brain can then see the skin tones a lot better. So I have to be careful, because some of these strands are going to come in front of her neck or in front of her face. I can't do that just yet. I'll save those for the end, but at least I can get everything blocked in and get my values right, which makes it easier for me to judge my values later. Whoops, that just went down too far. There we go. Shannon said, how do you organize your pencils? By color, make, or something else? I have them organized by the, like what type, like Caran d'Ache or Faber-Castell or whatever, the type of pencil. And then within that by color. So like I have one 3-drawer pastel box for each type. So one for my Pro Color, one for my Luminance, and one for my Faber-Castell Polychromos. I've got one, I think, Prismacolor in there too. I'm probably going to pull those out and replace those with something that I use more often. There's no reason for them to be in that box. I don't ever grab for them unless I'm just doing a sample, showing someone how they work for something. But they're all based on that. I've seen some people organize just by color. It just depends on what works best for you. There's no right or wrong way to do that. Esme says, will we see Chicken today? No, Chicken, I do not want him. Really, I am not bringing him out of my husband's room, because the stain that I used on the dog crate thing, it's still I can still smell it. And so until that smell is completely gone, I'm not even it's probably fine by now. I think it's mostly gone, but I don't want him out there. And then today, because I'll be using the spray, the touch-up or the texture fixative spray with powder blender, I wouldn't bring him in here anyway until, well, I could bring him in like an hour later, but not while I'm working. So yeah, he is not currently allowed in the studio, and he is not happy about it, because my desk is his favorite place in the world, and he's not pleased with me right now for not letting him come in here. It's really funny, because I'll go hang out in my husband's room to spend time with him. My husband has his computer in there, so he's always in there playing video games, and I'll go sit on the floor and play with Chicken, and we'll hang out for a while. And Chicken keeps running to the door. Like, he wants me to take him out the door and into the studio. He wants out into here, so I feel really bad for him. Now, as I'm doing this, if I were working with colored pencil on, like, my Fabriano or any other paper, and I'm blending with OMS, I would need my pencils to be sharp, and I wouldn't be using the side of the pencil like you see me using here. But because with the way Powder Blender works, I don't have to worry about that. If I did this with my other paper and working with OMS, I would have this gritty, grainy look in the end, and that's not something that'll happen here, so I don't have to worry about it. So see how I'm just building these clumps and clusters? I'm just getting this general idea of where my lights, where my darks, where all of this is going to go. Actually, that can switch back up to the lighter color. So what I'll finish with tonight will be very, very messy, but you'll see the general shapes in here, and that's really what matters. Kim says, I need an assistant. I agree. Katrina said, what are the colors would I use to get a blonde using Faber-Castell? I don't know the actual names because I don't pay attention to those, but you're going to use a lot of grays. You're going to use tans, cream, gray, and purple, believe it or not. You may even, the blonde hair, depending on how light it is, it may reflect different things around it. So sometimes I may use my, the Caput Mortem color that I use. Am I saying that one right? Yeah, Caput Mortem. I never say it right. I use that color on almost everything. I'll be using it on her hair too. But, you're going to use, those are basically the colors, no matter what pencils you're using. Purple is a big one. The biggest tip I can give you, not yellow. Yellow is not a color you see in hair unless somebody decided to go all, you know, clown with their hair and actually dye it yellow. But blonde hair and yellow, not the same. So you want to neutralize that with, again, those grays, creams, sometimes orange, you know, where it's picking up or reflecting another color. But mostly it's the, like, pale, like warm grays. I don't mean like cool grays, but warm grays mixed with your creams and tans and those colors. And, again, purple. What are the color? Okay, I answered that one. Huh. The Art of Joseph Fincham is talking about bovine feces. I don't know what you guys are talking about right now, but that's terrifying. Let's see. Sally said, did you use a projector? And if you did, what kind of projector did you use? I did for this one, and it is the Lumigraph 800, I think, and I don't even know if they make that anymore. Somebody told me they didn't. I haven't actually looked into it. I probably should, so I could answer that question better because it does come up. But that one, it was, I want to say Lumigraph. I don't know. If you look up Lachri and projector on YouTube, I have a review of that one, so you can see more about the one that I used. Robin said, that's so not true. I'm not on Patreon and you answer my question. See, exactly. Like, I actually don't even know. It doesn't show me on the chat who's a patron and who's not. I wouldn't even know. I just go by what is actually highlighted in orange. Otherwise, I just assume you guys are talking to yourself, like Joseph, about bovine poo. I think it was, okay. Nice way to not cuss. It actually sounds dirtier than a cuss word when you say it that way, though. Let's see. Phyllis said, just received my Inktense travel set. Can't wait to try them outside since I've been painting in the kitchen and bathroom in the past 2 days. No fun. Oh, yeah, I can see that. I used to paint, my dining room used to be my main area to work in. And I don't know, it just never felt, I always felt better. Like, I like painting in my bedroom better. Or not the studio. But, yeah, I never really got into it. I have to say, I've never tried painting in the bathroom, so that one's new, would be new for me. At least it would be easy to clean up if, like, you spilled paint. You could wipe it up easily. There's no carpet or anything in there. Let's see. But, yeah, you're going to have fun. I definitely share whatever you do in our art group or tag me in it or something. I'd love to see what you create with those. So much fun. Madison said, could powder blender work on gessoed paper? And does it have to be done with an airbrush? I don't think using a sponge brush would work. I've not heard of people, I mean, you could try the sponge brush method. I've not tried it myself. I've not heard of great results. I've only known of people that had really good results when they used the airbrush. And you don't need a dual action airbrush to do that, though. You could do that with the one that I always say, the single action that I spray water for acrylic painting, that I always say, that doesn't work for painting. In this case, it would, because you don't need control of how thin or thick a line is. You want everything very even, so it may be even easier to use the single action one, which you can get for anywhere between like $25, $30. I have, if you go to, let's see, I get them usually, I think Michael still carries them, and I always use the 40% coupon there. I have a link to it on Amazon on my website too if you go to acrylic painting supplies. But that gessoed paper works very, very well. For me, I don't like it just because I'm too lazy to prep the canvas. I just want to get the paper and start drawing. And so that's why I've moved to using just sanded paper that's already even pre-mounted. I don't even have to mount it. I am that lazy. But yes, you could use it with gessoed paper just fine. It just, being done without an airbrush, I'm not sure what kind of results you're going to get. It depends on the paper, too, if it's going to warp much or not. Like Fabriano, I would not trust for that right now. I'm not to scroll too far. I did not. Where did I leave off? Ah, her name is McKenna. Good. Now I have to remember that. But see, now that I know her name, it sounds even creepier when I talk about her being pretty. But I swear, it's just an artist thing. It's not a weird, I'm not flirting with you if you ever see this, McKenna. Let's see. Yeah, let's go. Sayante said, yeah, Santa also said McKenna. Let's see. Sarah said same thing. She's on Patreon, not on Patreon, and I still answer. Meet the Papito said, are you ever going to do a self-portrait? I want to. And this sounds super vain and super, I sound like such a girl when I say this. I need to lose some weight. I have gained so much weight especially after the surgery last summer. I just stopped moving. Like, I don't move at all. So I need to get back to walking and to a normal, because I'm not real, like, yeah. I'm being a superficial girl right now, but I'm working on it. I am working on that. So hopefully sometime in the near future, because I really want to. I have all kinds of ideas. Like, there are fish involved, and I'm excited to try it. Let's see. We have... Yep, Valerie is correct. I answer the questions I see with the @Lachri Fine Art hashtag. If it is not highlighted in orange, I will not see it. I will not answer you. Not because I'm being a jerk, just because I will not see it. Phyllis said, just receive. Okay, answered that one. Answered that one. Apparently I scrolled too far. JPC13 Art said, the thing you said at the end of your dolphin speed paint about people calling artwork disturbing made me laugh so hard because my own mother said that about my surreal work. Everyone's going to react differently to stuff. It's funny to me when people think that they need to inform us of their opinion like that. I'm like, okay, sure. That's funny though. Glad I'm not the only one. Okay, Esme said that the sponge applicator did work fine, so that, or actually, I'm throwing that in. I don't know if you're talking about the gesso at this point or the sponge applicators that come with this product, so I should just stay out of that conversation. I'm probably not helping. Caitlin Inspired said, well, and they just scrolled too far while I was reading it. Thank you, chat window. There we go. Thank you for your response about Fine Art America. I'm looking into ordering polychromos soon. Yay! Since they are oil-based, can I layer them with luminance and OMS? Or will it not mix? No, they mix beautifully together, and it doesn't matter if you put one down first or the other down. They all will work beautifully together. So no, they are a good, they work. Any wax and oil-based pencil work real well together. Sarah Makes Art said, I've been thinking that the big YouTubers with millions of subs who are upset about YouTube not sending out notifications should take a cue from people like you and Amy Landino and start a newsletter. Yeah, you know, that's a big deal. Having your own email newsletter is a really... Because that's, I mean, something that you have control of. Now, the downside is it ends up in people's spam folder a lot, and it can get expensive, but at least it's something that I can control. So, yeah. Again, just getting these clumps and clusters in here. I mean, it's not, ideally, YouTube would just keep notifying people, but since that's not an option. Phyllis said, I painted the bathroom and kitchen walls. I didn't paint in the bathroom. Okay, see, now that makes way more sense. I've actually painted several bathroom murals. I didn't enjoy that experience either because, like, bathrooms are usually not super huge, and trying to get, like, behind the toilet tank, trying to get behind and not get paint on the mirror. I don't miss those mural days. They came out really cool, but I'm not doing that again. That was a lot of work, so I feel for you. But that's definitely cool. Oh, good. Janny said that I have the Autograph Tracer and Inspire 800, so I'm glad you know better than I do. Let's see. Siddhant said, I was doing a dog portrait last night with my polychromos, but the thing is I can't get those white hairs on it to show up. Please give any suggestions. So, okay, you've got a few, well, for one, with polychromos, they're white, unless you're working on sanded paper. To me, it's pretty much useless. Get a wax-based pencil. So my two favorites are either the Derwent Drawing Chinese White. It's not going to give you tiny, tiny detail, but it's one of the most opaque whites. Or the Luminance White. My, one step below that would be the Prismacolor White. Their Prismacolor Premier White would be still a million times better than the Polychromos White. Polychromos White just, it'll show up on here. It will not show up on regular paper. It's like just, it's too transparent. So switching the pencil can work. Using a combination that I use all the time, Touch Up Texture, Titanium White Mixture to paint in white highlights, that's another really good option. Your last option is to just leave the white of the paper showing through where you're going to want those. And it can be hard to protect that. But it is a way to make sure it stays really, really white. You just have to be so careful not to accidentally get color on that paper. But if you get the Luminance or the Derwent Drawing Chinese White, that's going to make a big difference for you. Now, when you use those, it's not going to go 100% back to white. It'll still be a bit dark. Or it'll make, like, if you had, let's say I had the paper black and I put white on top of that with one of those pencils, I can get it up to a light gray. I can't get it back to straight white. If I want straight white, I'm either going to use Touch Up Texture, Titanium White Mixture, that again you see me use all the time, or I'm going to leave the white of the paper showing through to begin with, which is a lot more work. Sarah Makes Art said, at least then they would have a way to get the videos out to people that was within their control. Yeah, back to the email list. You are absolutely correct. If you guys are having trouble with it buffering, just try refreshing. I know for right now I'm okay. I'm not seeing it buffer, or stuck, so it may be your computer just hit refresh. I had to do that at the beginning. Oops, and there we go. I saw one from Mara, and it just scrolled too far, and I missed it. Where did you go? Oh. Okay, apparently I had scrolled too far. Anyway, JJ said, I'm starting a pet portrait commission business. How do you suggest opening for commissions. Should I launch an opening date on my Facebook page or just contact those inquiring and get started? Just contact those inquiring and get started. Facebook, first off, is not going to notify that many people. Facebook is gotten to the point of being almost useless. I mean, it's still worth using because it's free. You know, if it doesn't cost anything, you do reach some people, but you're not going to have this big grand opening on your Facebook page unless you're paying a lot of money, which even that I don't recommend. I'm not one who pays. I'm not giving Facebook money. They have done too much shady stuff. Anyway, I'm not going to go on that rant right now, but I would just go ahead and start contacting people who are interested. Make sure you've got lots of samples of your work. Obviously, you wouldn't want to jump into that if you are just getting started with pet portraits in general. But yeah, just get started and start letting people know. Start posting about it. You can also, and I only had it in one vet at a time normally, whatever my current vet was at the time. But you can also, a lot of veterinarians will sometimes let you put your cards up. And make sure your card has one sample of your drawing. Don't try to fit every sample, too small. But you can have a sample of your card or get postcards printed. Like Vistaprint does really good work with their postcards. Get postcards printed and some vets will let you leave that in their office. And so you can get business that way sometimes. It's not as effective for me. It never was as social media, but I did get a few jobs that way. So that can help too. As May said, artist, well, and then going back to Facebook, it would also kind of depend too. How many how many followers do you have on Facebook? If you have 100 people, it's not worth having a grand opening because Facebook's only going to share it with like 10 of them. So if that, probably not. No, definitely not even that. It's less than that now. So, yeah, I don't think that that's really necessary at that point. Let's see, as I said, artists appreciate others' facial structures. Exactly. I know, it's funny. So my friend, years ago, I actually did a painting of her as a fairy. It was a black and white piece with, she had fairy wings. Still love that painting. I have it around here somewhere. But actually, I think it's over there in those shelves. But her brother is also really, really pretty. And I always felt creepy, like, oh, I want to paint your brother. And it's like, I'm happily married. I swear I'm not flirting with him or trying to hit on him or anything like that. He's got pretty facial structure. But I also at the same time realized to somebody who's not an artist would be like, really creepy, Lisa. So let's go on. There's Mara's question. Mara said, you said it's time to stop hoarding our art supplies, so I've decided to cut my Stonehenge paper. Yay! Will this powder blender work? No, I would not use Stonehenge for this. Or is there something I need to do to it first? You could gesso Stonehenge, but honestly, Stonehenge is too absorbent. It is not the right paper for this. I've not tried it, but I wouldn't bother because it's not meant for water medium. Now, if you had like a watercolor Stonehenge, that's one thing. But ideally, go with a watercolor paper if you're going to gesso it. But it has to be gessoed first. Now, here's a really good Lonnie, who is here. She's, again, the lady who built the crate for not the crate, but the stand that goes over my dog's crate. She was showing me a piece she was having trouble with that she was working on, and it was pastel matte. And a lot of people keep saying, oh yeah, powder blender works on pastel matte. She showed me the trouble she was having on it. No, apparently not. It's not the same. And I have to try it myself to know, before I can say too much, but I can tell you, it looked like it was, the powder blender was, it kind of blends, but not the same as it does on the sanded paper. Like I showed her on this and it was very different, the results. So that is, the paper you use makes a big difference. I wouldn't even bother with this product if you're not going to use either sanded paper or gessoed paper. Those are your two options. With gessoed paper, go with a watercolor paper that you gessoed. I wouldn't, like, again, Stonehenge, I think it's too soft and too absorbent. It would not be my first choice. It could probably be done, but I think you're going to end up fighting with it. It just seems a little bit pointless, whereas a watercolor paper would be more suitable for the wet media when you put the gesso on it. Stonehenge is so absorbent. Yeah, I like the next part of that question. Or should I buy another paper to start a new hoarding pile? New hoarding pile all the way. Let's see. And back up there. Okay. Yes, Esme said, gasp, the apocalypse is coming. Lachri Fine Art will be using pastels. I know, she sent them. She contacted me. I think today I got are you in my email? Did you read that email? I think it was today she contacted me letting me know she sent that out in some, what are they? The soft tools brushes, which I kind of feel guilty about because I actually already have those. But yeah, so we will be trying that. We'll see. I'm doing this for you guys. Andre Casanova, who is actually Jimmy the dressmaker. How do you, okay, Jimmy has the coolest name. Whose parents love them enough to name them Andre Casanova? That is the coolest name. And he goes by Jimmy. I'll never understand. Jimmy said, will a print of this piece be available? Actually, Jimmy, I'm going to be giving this piece to you. So no, there will be no print, but you are getting the original since it's your dress and it would just sit up in my box anyway. Jesse James Ramirez said, I just started doing, but actually check with Topher first and make sure that it goes with your decor, because I don't want him to be mad at me that I gave you like this giant piece of art and he's going to be like, really? This does not go with our house. So find out first. But if he's cool with it, it's yours. Jesse said, I just started doing portraits, and when I shade in every, I always get stuck on the neck because the way their hair shape makes it look like a weird shaped neck, if that makes sense. Yeah, and when you, okay, so right now, like, and it's even a problem, well, you can't see it right now, but like, I'll lift it up. So this area of her arm, I keep getting people going, oh, you drew her arm wrong. I had a few people comment, I'm like, you can't tell that that's her dress in front of her arm. Seriously. But I've had a few people comment on that. I'm like, it's obviously her dress is in front of her arm. And that's the case here. Obviously her hair is in front of it, but it does look weird. I see what you're saying. What I'll do once I shade in her neck, I want to make sure that I pull in some of the hair in front of that to make it obvious. And like when I work on the dress on the top, I'll probably make it a little bit extra bumpy, more so than what it is in the photo. Whoa, that is out of focus. Come on. Focus. Hold on. Camera's way, no, there it is. Okay, it's in focus again. Give it a minute. But, yeah, don't... The shading will have some of it because she's going to have a dark, dark shadow here. I mean, make sure you get the shading on the neck. That really matters. But having a few strands, I'll probably put a few more strands on what's in the photo to make it real obvious the hair is going there. And here it's even more obvious because her clothing is black and white. So it's going to be pretty easy to make it look like a neck and not a weird shape, but by putting a few extra wisps, sometimes that'll help a lot. I just lost my chat window. Kim said, do you use masking fluid to preserve white and colored pencil work? I don't, because the way that I work with masking fluid, I would jam my pencil up and lift the masking fluid. So I personally don't, but I know of many, many people who do successfully, and it works perfectly for them. So that is definitely an option. But you have to watch with masking fluid too. Colored pencil is a really slow medium. Masking fluid, I don't like to leave on the paper more than a few hours because I've had some weird things where it wants to start to rip. It grips too much if you leave it on there too long. So that is something to keep in mind. Test that first. Vladimir said, when doing your tracing, what parts do you include? Main features, every detail in the reference, only the shapes or reference, etc. Well, this technically is a tracing, and you can see what I've included. I mean, whatever you think is going to be helpful. It's not going to be the same for every artist. What I think might be helpful might be too much detail, and someone else might get lost with this much, whereas it could be the opposite. What I think is enough might not be enough for the next artist. So whatever you think might work for you, add. But, I mean, you can see with their face. I've just got a general, like, I don't have where her cheekbones are. I mean, that doesn't save me time. I can freehand that in. I just put the stuff in there that I think will save me time, I guess. Good question. Okay, we have Morticia said, Caradosh Luminance White is very good, and their White Buff Titanium 801 is good for blending. I like Derwent Color Soft White 720. It's not so soft as Derwent Drawing. I don't like Color Soft at all. I don't like anything about Color Soft. Color Soft is good if you're doing quick sketches. I take that back. I like them for that, but that would be it for me. I like the Derwent Drawing much better for white, for layering in general. Madison said, if you use gesso on paper, would you have to use an airbrush, and would it watercolor paper work? Yes, watercolor paper is my choice, and Fabriano hot press watercolor, the whole long name. That is what I have always used when I gessoed my own paper. Am I still on? Okay, good. Making sure her hair still shows. But yeah, you can. Let's see. Would you? I don't know. I already answered this question, so I'll just go through it quickly. You don't have to use an airbrush, but I think your results are going to be more even, and it's going to look a little better than using a sponge. But you can try the sponge. I've not used that one myself. As May said, your sacrifice will be much appreciated. I love pastels. We'll see if I don't lose my mind. Like, I might have to start drinking heavily to get through it. Like, the feel of, I'm kidding. But the feel of the chalkiness, if it gets on my hands at all, I'm like, I'm going to be washing my hands constantly and adding more lotion. Watch. I'm so neurotic about that. let's see, this section curves out that way. This goes, making sure I've got the right area for the hair. But see how I'm working? Just clumps, clusters. It's just very, very loose. It's not trying to do one strand. Obviously wouldn't work. As you can see how this is going on here. Jimmy said, it will go perfect in my sewing studio. Perfect. Good. You don't have to get permission then. Like how I assume you have to get permission. I don't know who cares more about how things in your house look. I just don't want... Like, I've had people who wanted paintings, and some of my male friends had wanted paintings, and they're like, I have to ask my wife first if this goes, because the other person was the one who was more worried about their home decor. That's why I'm like, I don't know which it matters. Let's see. Do I remember how many layers? Oh, good question. I like that you asked this, Jenny, because I actually marked this down. Do I remember how many layers I put on the background of this piece? So whatever I did in last week's live stream, I want to say, what, 4 or 5 layers last week on the live stream. Then I added an additional 6 layers. I made a little, I have my little mark on my board up here. So 6 more layers on top of what I did last week to get it to this point. So Jimmy, we'll have to go, I'll go with you. We can find frames for this. I'll actually cut a frame, a mat for this. We'll have to figure out what looks best because the, this is a 16 by 20. They don't have them pre-made, but I've got the stuff here. So we will do some mat cutting and we'll make one for you. Let's see, but it will definitely need to go behind glass. So I'll help you find one. Mara said, you've used that squeeze ball thing to blow excessive powder off this. You didn't get it all off. Will the fixative make that excess stick and make your other layers harder? It doesn't make the other layers harder. So the fixative, it's a texture fixative. It adds texture. It doesn't make it flat. It's not like putting a sealer on it. Like if I use the final fixative, then yeah, that would make it so that additional layers wouldn't go on. Using this makes it so you can make more layers. So you can have something you completely flatten the tooth of your paper. You add this, again, on sanded paper. It doesn't really work on regular paper, but sanded or gessoed. But you can add this and suddenly you've got tooth again. So it makes it so more layers do stick. But it doesn't, like if I put my finger on it, you can see some of that powder does come off a little bit. Not a ton, but a little bit. I'm going to need to use the final fixative to get that to be more sealed down. But even then, you've got to be careful because it could still smudge some of it. Valerie is insisting no issues with your hands for pastels. We'll see. I don't know if I believe you right now. We'll see. I didn't believe everyone that watercolor pencils were awesome either, and I was totally wrong about that. Mara Black said, I can only get cold press. Can I still use this? The cold press, when you gesso it, might smooth it out enough that you might really like it. Give it a try. That squeeze ball thing, by the way, Mara, that I was using to blow the air off, oh my gosh, I had powder everywhere in the studio. I had to dust it all off. It doesn't like stain anything, but I had to dust everything. And then that scrolled too far. There we go. Okay, looks like I'm caught up. Honest Frank, I'm looking at what Joseph wrote, so I had to look back at what that is. Can I show the photo on my video of what I'm looking at? No, I'm not the photographer. I have rights to draw this, but I did not get permission to share the original photograph. If you look up the photographer though, I know he has, I want to say it was Flickr, go wherever he might have a website. I'm sure he's got this posted, or his Instagram might be there. I think it might be even be on Jimmy's Instagram. I'm not sure. I don't think he posted this one on his Instagram. He had some, but you can look that up, but I didn't personally ask him. Like he might give me rights if I asked, but I haven't. And so I'm not going to post the original photo to this. But you can go look it up on his information. Again, just look up that name. And if you have a hard time finding him, I don't know how common his name is, add in Dallas or North Texas or something like that in your search function, and that should help. But I was really happy that he was letting me draw this in the first place, so I don't want to be a jerk and without permission start posting things he did not give me permission for. Because this photographer is awesome, and I would like to draw more stuff that, especially if he takes more stuff from Jimmy's. Nancy said, I wear gloves when I use pastels. Also, pets out of the room when using it. potential respiratory issues. And see, that's another thing with pastels, because I do know that about that breathing in the dress constantly, that it would not be something I'd want to do on a fairly regular basis for that reason, but good tip there. Yeah, I've heard of people having problems with that, but gloves, I don't like to wear gloves. So, like, even when I sanded or I stained the table that went over my dog crate, I had to wear gloves for, I don't know, half hour, and it drove me insane. I hated it. So, yeah, I don't see me doing that. Let's see, XXL LOL9XX, that is an interesting name. I saw that must be confusing, like when people call you from across the room. XXL9XX. It's a mouthful. I'm being dumb. Okay, I saw your video where you did a World of Warcraft fan art, and I was wondering if you still play it. I do. If you do, would you consider making a gaming channel? Definitely not. Gaming, I don't play that often. I don't raid anymore. I used to raid. I used to raid 5 days a week, and that was like a whole job. But when I started with YouTube, I really didn't have time. I had to stop raiding. I had to stop with, I don't even really run dungeons much anymore, like almost never. I pretty much at this point just play to collect pets and mounts. I have like, what, 269 mounts on my main. So I'm working on getting to the 300 thing. But that and like transmog gear, and people who don't play Warcraft don't know what I'm talking about. And the pets. Pets, I have like 800 unique. I have a lot. Maybe more. I don't know. I have way too many. But just kidding. I don't have enough. No, I definitely will not be doing a gaming channel. I mean, anything you do with YouTube takes time, and I don't want to do anything that takes away from art, because that's more what my passion is. So, no, I might sometimes include video, because the guys in my guild are really cool about letting me include them in clips if I want. But no, I definitely don't see myself doing a gaming channel. Again, because I don't play enough to even be interesting, even if I had the time, because I don't raid. It would be like, watch me go do dailies and try to collect more mounts, because the stupid unicorn refuses to drop from the Dreamweavers. Let's see. Mara Black said, is the paper surgical mask enough to protect your lungs? Those ones are enough from like heavy, bigger particles. The smaller the particle, the like fancier of an air mask you need. So it depends on what it is. So it just depends on those. As I said, with pan pastels, there's little to no dust, especially if you use sanded paper. Esme is determined to make me like them, and it's starting to work. Mara said, if I wear gloves, they fill with sweat. It's disgusting. Yes, see, that's what happened to me. I took them off. I was like, okay, I needed to take them off for a minute, and I thought I'd put them back on. There was sweat. It was gross, and they weren't going back on. I had to get a new pair. Yeah, no. See, that's what gets me, too, and it's just, no. Again, I'm neurotic. I know. Let's see. Ursis said, don't make inelegant marks for your pan pastel pencils. Just about anything works. Absolutely fantastically fine with pastels. They are finely smooth medium. We'll see. You guys keep trying to convince me. Like, seriously, when the lady, she's really nice, who contacted me asking if I wanted to make a video with them, I would have said no if it weren't for you guys constantly bugging me about that. So this is definitely your doing, because it would not have been my choice. So I hope you appreciate it. Esme still vouching for these pans. You guys are cracking me up with that. I'm going to actually, seriously, if I ended up loving them, it would crack me up, because I've been for so many years like, no, I'm not going to use them. But I was just surprised when I looked outside and it was still kind of light out. That was unexpected at 8:48 p.m. I like it. I love summer nights. Valerie said I use the lotion glove in a bottle. I used to use that. I actually had a bunch when I was doing demonstrations and stuff at Michael's. Somebody, I forget who it was, brought in a whole bunch of it for us. I used to use that stuff a lot. Is this a light one or a dark one? Oh, this changes. That's actually light. Let's switch. Actually, I'm just going to put this in a little bit with that cream. See what I mean? I don't have to pay that much attention. Go for close. And even with the clumps and clusters of the hair, I'm going for close. This is not strand for strand going to be exact. It doesn't need to be. Her face, I need to be way more exact. Her hair, not so much. Okay, we've got this bottom chunk that I can't see. My monitor. I need a bigger monitor. So I'm just going through and looking at where I can see my light areas, just blocking those in. Most of this I won't do until I do the clothing because that's got to go between that. The LOL way too long. I'm not saying that again. Name says, oh, does OMS work better with Prismacolors or Faber-Castell? It works well with both. I've used it with both for years. Never had a problem with either one. Esme said, I've used just about all types of pastel pencils, blocks, soft pastels, and pans. The pans are by far the easiest and least messy to use. That is good to hear. Stop it. You guys are actually making me kind of excited to try them. Oh, so this total change of subject because no one asked, but I'm going to share anyway. I'm kind of excited. Ooh, wait, highlight here. That's actually a big highlight here. I am going to try, I've got some really cool Smart Art Box projects I haven't done yet, and I'm going to try filming them with a 360 camera. So I'm going to do it, because the lighting in this room, in my studio, one of the reasons I don't do the 360 cam that often is it doesn't work very well in the low light, and it is way too low light in this room. So I'm going to try doing it out in my dining area. I'm going to film it on Friday, and I'm so excited to try that. I'm excited to edit it because it's something different. So that will actually be kind of fun and coming up very, very soon. And I should have on Friday or Saturday, my peacock with the markers will be up. I've got a few videos I need to edit. I had videos I was supposed to edit last week. I didn't get anything done. I have no good excuse. I was being lazy. Sarah Biggs Art said, being able to show 2 photos is why I like Pixabay, because they do allow that. Yeah, that's definitely a plus with Pixabay, because you can do whatever you want with those photos. Same with, not graphic stock, they changed the name. Storyblocks. I can show those photos too. Sometimes I find being able to show 2 photos really helpful. Definitely. Artist Fun said, what is the best white pencil? Best black pencil. My favorite black is the Polychromos black. And it depends on the paper. I mean, there are going to be other factors, but for the most part, for how I work, Polychromos black is my favorite. White, it's a toss-up between Derwent Drawing and the Luminance white. Those are my 2 favorites. Okay. When the funny thing is I'm doing this, I'm going to lose a lot of these chunks anyway and have to kind of freehand back in once I blend this out. Let's see. Jessie said, totally off topic, but what would you do if you woke up and your husband had dyed your hair blue in your sleep? Thank him for me not having to do it myself. That seems like a lot of work. If he did a good job, I might be happy. I don't trust him to do a good job. Let's see. Ursi said, pastels are cool. Thanks for saying you'll create a show to demonstrate your skills. I think you will make very excellent, beautiful works with pastels. It's a lot of fun. A lot of best fun. I hope you're right. Holding you guys to it. LOL9. I'm just going to call you all L9 now. Have you seen the Strathmore tan paper before for colored pencils? If you did you like it? Strathmore tone tan paper. No, I have not. I had their colored pencil paper. Hated it. Hated it. I've not seen the tone tan paper, though. I'll have to look into that. Lori said, hi, Lisa. The hair color on the left side looks different. Like you used gray tones, similar to the background. Is it a base color? Maybe I need better glasses. No, you are actually 100% correct. This is going to be a Beetlejuice-inspired piece. So from basically this part of her face up in her hair, I'm doing black and white, and then I'm going to pull some color, the green and the purple that goes with the Beetlejuice character onto that, and then the rest of her is just going to be her normal self. But nope, you do not need better glasses. You're seeing this completely correct. I'm not done with that part of the hair. I've just blocked it in. So, okay, this is, oh, wait, let me pull some more dark in here. And then we can go ahead and blend this first layer out. One of the things that I love with using powder blender is I don't feel as much pressure to make sure everything's exact. Like when I use colored pencil where I'm using OMS, it's not as forgiving. This stuff, seriously, like if I have a big brown mark over here that isn't supposed to be there, it is perfect. Like it's so easy to hide later on with your other layers. Not a problem with this at all. Okay, so I'm going to put these pencils down. We'll get out the powder blender. Actually, I'm going to try. So when you get if you get the kit from brushandpencil.com with, it's like a little bag, it has all their little, the touch-up texture and stuff in it. They come with these little teeny, they're eyeshadow brushes basically, but they're perfect. They're nice, but they're good for small areas. I don't like them for like the big background. Not practical. Let's see if it works for the hair. If I want to switch to Pan Pastel, or not Pan Pastels, to the, you guys have that in my head now, to my soft tools. There we go. Okay. So with the powder blender, I don't need a ton of it on the brush. Let's just knock some of that off. And the first layer, it'll be a little bit gritty. That's normal. So you can see how it just softens that all out. And it basically ends up, for my first layers, will look very much like what my first layers would do if I was doing an oil or acrylic, where it's just soft. You're not seeing those individual strands. I want to make sure I get this in all of there and it's all blended out for the, I don't want any of that cream of the paper showing through at this point. Courtney says, $10 says you'll be singing praises of pastels like you're about to watercolor pencils, huh? I don't know. We'll see. Tone paper is really cool for pastels. You can get it very fine, best results with contrast finely. Fiona said, I totally fangirled out the other day when you commented on my Booty Bay painting inspired by you. Thank you so much. That was awesome. I love that you included the little, the boomkin, the little baby boomkin. So friggin' cute. I loved yours. I was like, hey, yours is better than mine. I didn't think to include a boomkin. Actually, after seeing yours, it's totally stupid, like, side fact. After seeing that painting, I totally went and had to pull my little Boomkin baby pet out because I hadn't had them out in a long time. But yours was so cute. I'm like, I totally forgot about that one. I have a lot of pets. I forget how many, or I forget about half of them. So when I saw yours, I was like, I have to play with him out. Let's see. So I'm still blending in the general direction of those clumps and clusters so I can kind of see where they are or where they'll go later. Like, I don't want to just come and smudge over everything and lose all of this. The way that I'm doing it, I can still see the movement, so I don't have to redraw all of it back in. I want to make things as easy as possible on myself. It's not that it can't be drawn. I mean, if you do smudge it all out, you can go back and obviously fix it, but let's make it easier on yourself and not go too crazy with that. This little blender is actually working good for me to make sure I am focusing on the little clumps and clusters. I like the sponge on this a little bit better than soft tools. It's just that it's so small, it's not practical for big areas. My first couple of times using powder blender, I only used this. I did not try the soft tools ones. And I remember thinking just the fact that this is so small is taking me forever. This is supposed to be a time saver. So yeah, it definitely helps to use the right, you know, something that's the right size. I basically lost what goes where in this clump. I'm going to have to fix that on my next layers. But this layer, like I said, nothing needs to really be perfect. I just want to make sure that that white of the paper or the cream of the paper is completely covered so I'm not fighting against that later. Okay, so that works. Now I am going to spray that. And I should have, because this was starting to clog last week, I really should have soaked the cap. Kind of afraid of how bad this may end up spitting later on. Kirsty Jones said, do you use odorless mineral spirits in some of your layers? I found as long as you use the texture fixative in between layers, it works well. Yes, I do. I actually did that a lot when I did the last time I did a portrait with a girl that had the flowers in her hair, and she was holding the flowers. I used the odorless mineral spirits quite a bit on that. That one, same thing. As long as I had the texture fixative in between layers, it was beautiful. I found that if you don't have the texture fixative in between layers and you've used powder blender and then you try to use that, yeah, that makes a muddy, like pasty, horrible mess. You can fix it, but it wasn't good. Haley said, what color pencils are good for powder blender? I'm thinking of getting it right now, but I only have Prismacolor pencils. No, don't use them for Prisma. Use them, the Polychromos and the Pro Color work the best. Polychromos are my favorite. You want to go with an oil-based pencil for these. You can use Prismacolor, but use them on your final layers where you're not blending. What happens with the wax-based pencils, they stick too much to the paper, and then the powder blender doesn't really, like, it doesn't blend the same. It kind of does, not well. Not well enough that I would suggest it. Save your Prismas for your last layers. Use your oil-based, like the Faber-Castell Polychromos for this. Jesse said, what made you want to start recording for YouTube? So my art hero, Jaime Jimenez, he, pretty much I learned early on years ago, he worked in the same building I did when I used to work in an animal hospital. He was going to the Pasadena, the art center in Pasadena, and let me spray this really quick. That should be good or close enough. You don't need a heavy coating of it. There we go. Oh, good. It didn't spit too bad. See, okay, so this is a kind of a cool tip, and I don't know if it's just this can or I just finally figured it out. Don't push the, woo, strong. Now it hit my face. I forgot to cover my mouth. Ooh. It's like spraying hairspray near your face. It's non-toxic, but anyway, don't push the button all the way down. It comes out too hard. If I just barely push it down like I would with a dual action airbrush, I'm getting this nice even mist and not having it spit all over. So kind of a cool thing I recently have started doing, and it's working out good. But anyway, Jaime Jimenez is such an amazing artist, and I was so impressed by his stuff. So I learned, like, he gave me tips, like he did a quick demonstration on our lunch break once, showing me how to use an airbrush. He gave me my first airbrush for painting wet into wet, and he showed me how to use a mop brush, and it was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And I started doing, like, my work before that demonstration and after was so, you wouldn't even know it was the same person. So he just inspired me in a lot of things. He encouraged me in a lot of ways, like, really, really cool artist, big influence for me. And he, years later, like, I hadn't been in contact with him for years. Years and years go by, and we end up connecting on, because I had moved out of state. I was in Southern California at the time, moved to Texas, and he commented one day, I was posting these in progress shots of, there is a hair sticking to me. I posted these in progress shots step by step of my paintings, and it would like scroll by. And he's like, why don't you just record your process and post that? I wanted something for my website to embed, like to make my website more interesting. I had no idea, like I didn't even know you could subscribe to someone on YouTube. I knew nothing about it. I just uploaded there or here because it was free. But yeah, he suggested that, and because I had learned so early on, if Jaime suggests it, I should do it. And here's another case where Jaime was right. Do what Jaime says. So yeah, he could probably tell me to jump off a cliff, and I'd be like, it's Jaime said it. It must be a good idea. But that's what started, or how that started. Where did I just, okay, got that one. Honest and Frank said, are you going to be putting a widow's peak hairline on her because it would look better if she had one? No, I won't. I'm going to keep it. It's just like her. The only thing I'm adjusting is the color on certain areas. But as far as like the actual drawing, the dress, like all of that is pretty much staying the same. So no, I'm not going to do that on this one. LOL9 said, when you first drew hair, was it overwhelming for you? Oh my gosh, so much. I hated it so much. It was just like, I didn't know how, like I was trying to put in every strand. That's why I'm always pushing that on you guys. Don't do that, because that's what I was trying to do, and it never looked good. I couldn't, like, yeah, and you look at the mess of detail, and it's just like, there's so much to do. Like, how do I even know how to break this down? And so that's what it really boiled down to, is breaking it down into small sections. So once I get my base layer, like I worked on her whole side of her hair here, but once I get the base layer on, I'm going to break it into small sections. Like I'll really focus on here. I'll really focus just here. I'll really focus on this clump, not all the clumps together. So when I started breaking it down, it definitely got easier to tackle. But oh yeah, I struggled with that. And especially not just people, like animal fur, different types, different textures of fur. I really, really struggled with. I was fine if it was super fluffy, like a collie that has, you know, that super, super fine, soft fur, Pomeranian fur, that I was no problem with. Himalayan cat, like a Persian cat, that fluffy. But when it had a finer, like a more defined texture and clumps and clusters like that, that took me some work to get used to. Chrissy Jones said, I found the OMS in the first few layers to build up color quickly, then use the powder blender after to make that smooth out is perfect for me. Oh, I need to try that. I have not tried that method. That's going to have to happen. Thanks for the suggestion. Rachel said, maybe you already answered this, but for those wanting to start colored pencil, what paper would you recommend? It depends on what you want to do. I forever was using the Fabriano Artistico Extra White Hot Press 140-pound watercolor paper. I'm still going to use the rest of what I have now. Probably not going to repurchase it. It's not, the newer batches just aren't the same as the older batches, and some parts about it I like better, some parts I like less. I don't know. I mean, it still works, but it's definitely changed from what it used to be. Stonehenge, if you're doing a lot of portraits, I loved Stonehenge for portraits. The skin, the blending on that was beautiful. And I like that in the individual sheets, not the one sold in the padded paper, because that's very different. Right now, Arches Hot Press watercolor paper, I've used the ones in block for colored pencil. I think that's kind of my favorite. I'm really liking that right now. I haven't tried my bigger sheets of that. I have some in a box I haven't opened. It's been sitting there for like 2 months. I've got to do a test with that, but I'm pretty sure that's going to be my go-to based on how much I like the watercolor blocks. If it's the same, I'm probably going that route. Oh, yay, stamps for Patreon postcards just shipped, so hopefully March's cards, which should have gone out in April, I am that far behind, those will be going out in a few days, I hope. And I've got like seriously, there's so many postcards. I already got the labels printed for the next month, the ones that should have gone out in May, I have, so that would be April's postcards. I have the labels, I just have to stick them on there. So, yay, I just got that notification. Rachel said maybe, okay, I answered that one. Whoa, that just scrolled too far. Dang it, Facebook, or not Facebook, YouTube. Chrissy said, what is the group called on Facebook where we can post our artwork to show people on the chat? That would be Lachri. It should be in the video description. The Lachri artist group, I think we called it. Or if you go to just my personal fan page, that has a link straight to the group. So those are connected, so you can find it that way. Katrina said, how can I make hair that I color look real? Well, that's what you'll see in this, and you've got a lot of other videos too showing you how. I mean, it's not something I can just tell you, but I can give you tips, you know, not one long strand. The tips that I've been giving you in this video, that's what you're going to do. Clumps and clusters. Don't look at it as individual strands. Look at the clumps and clusters of the highlights and shadows. Phyllis said, how do you spell his name? Would love to see his work. H-A-I-M-E. H-I-M-E-N-E-Z. I have to type that out. I may be doing Jimenez. It's a J is how it starts. Both start. Jaime Jimenez. Sounds like an H. It's with a J. I don't think he has a website anymore. I don't even know if he's got anything up, unfortunately. I got on him about that a couple years ago, and he never got around to it. Jesse said, funny, because I never knew what the mop brush was for when I found your channel. That mop brush is amazing. So we can all thank Jaime for that mop brush. Two Train said, do you draw like clumps of hair, like you said, the abstract shapes, and then shade that shape? Huh? Do you draw? This looks like it's in text speak, so it's really hard for me to read. Let me see if I can get that, make sure I'm translating that right. Do you draw clumps of hair, like you said, then abstract shapes, then shade that shape? Yes, yes, you do. Abstract shapes, that is exactly. See, you have watched the videos. But look at the photo like I would with a flower. Look at it as anything I'm drawing. Abstract shapes, the clumps and clusters. If I look at this and I'm like, I'm drawing hair. it's not going to look like hair. If I look at it and I'm like, I'm just copying the shapes and shadows that I see on my reference photo, that's when it starts looking more realistic. Kirsty Jones said, I just posted the Lachri artist group on my Facebook, my latest colored pencil piece of a hornbill using OMS and powder blender. Awesome. I'll go look at that. Ariziel, I really like how your name looks, and I am butchering it, and I apologize. Should we color the hair first? I mean, the background of the color of the hair itself before drawing in the strands. Yeah, I do a base. That's how I work. Some people will do like almost like paint by number style, where it's just the right hair in the right place. The problem with that is it tends to end up looking more like plastic. If you want it to look nice and soft, I find it looks best if you layer and overlap. And yeah, getting a base layer for me works much better than trying to do those strands. I draw those strands. Those strands are my last step. JJ said, what is your best advice on how to build a successful pet portrait business other than having great work? Marketing. Start learning about marketing. I mentioned earlier, it's a lot of it that didn't come out right at all. Animal hospitals will allow you to put business cards up, and with your business card, have one sample. One, not all the samples. I made that mistake before. As little information, and here's a little tip on business cards: as little information as possible. What I used to do, I probably saved some as an example somewhere that were horrible. The writing was so tiny because I tried to fit so much information, no one could read it. What is the point if no one can read it? Plus, that much information no one's going to read. Keep it simple. Keep your business cards, your name, your email, however you want people to contact you, your email, your phone number, whatever, your website. I think I put YouTube as well. I did not put Facebook, Instagram. I don't have all my social media. If they go to my website, they can see the links to my social media. Don't put too much. And what I used to do is explain, I'd have a list that every type of art that I did, every medium, oil, acrylic, colored pencil, charcoal, airbrush, portraits, pet portraits, that I teach classes, that I do surreal work. I mean, I had a list like you wouldn't believe. You can read any of it. No one wants to read it anyway. Have one sample that you think is a good example of what you do, of your work, and how to contact you. The best places, like 3 ways to contact you. Email, phone number, if that's how you want them to contact you, website. That's it. You don't need more. Keep it as simple as possible, as basic as possible. But again, like I said, too much information is like really bad on a website. But start learning about marketing. And I don't necessarily recommend a lot of information. Like you can look up, there are websites and stuff, marketing for artists. I've found the best result from just general marketing podcasts. Amy she changed her name. It was Schmidauer. It's Landine. Sarah Makes Art. If you can comment, Amy Landine. Do you know I forget what it is. Her name used to be Savvy Sexy Social, and I always mixed up which word went where. But she gave great advice for marketing. Her older videos especially. Her newer ones got to where it was more of a personal vlog, which wasn't as useful, I think, for the business side of it. But if you look back at some of her old ones, she had just great tips. But any kind of marketing podcast, marketing videos, marketing. There's another girl, and I can't think of her name. I love how she edits her videos. Oh, what is her name? That's going to drive me crazy. I'm subscribed to her, and I can't think of it right now. But marketing type things, that's really what you want to start learning, what you really want to start focusing. Understanding how social media works, when to post, how much should you post? Like here, I offer this service versus here's me just giving free content showing you something that I created. Like learning to do all of that is going to make the biggest difference in your business. Here's another thing. Build a website. If you don't have a website, most buyers aren't going to take you that seriously. You will get some commissions, but you're going to get more commissions if you've got a website and have a price list. If you just tell people, this is probably dry enough to stir my next one, but if you just tell people, yeah, contact me for prices, most people won't. Most people are going to assume it's out of their budget and they're not going to bother. Like I said, some will, but filter out to begin with who is going to be interested in your content before you have to answer, because you're either going to have people thinking that your prices are going to be too expensive when they contact you and get mad because you're too expensive because you didn't tell them how much you were to begin with, or you're going to have people not contacting you because they assumed you would be too expensive. It just all around, it works out way better if you go ahead and let people know what those prices are to start with. Don't make people guess. I mean, if you're shopping, how many times when you're in a store, or like not so much a store because most places have like bigger Target and stuff have the little scanning things, but how many times if you see something on a shelf, you don't know how much it costs, you just assume, it's probably too much and I'm not going to bother. I'm not going to put the effort into it. And I think that it's the same a lot of times when you get into portraits. Have a price list. This is how much I charge for this size. For like, I broke mine down like for pet portraits. For one pet, for an 11 by 14, it costs this. For two pets in 11 by 14, it costs this. I don't go smaller than 11 by 14 for two pets. 8 by 10 would be the smallest I would personally do. Or that was, for the style I work, that worked best. For, 16 by 20 for one pet, I charge this. For two pets, I charge this. For, different mediums, I would charge a different amount based on the medium. So you can start put together that price list. I think that that really helps. And that way when people contact you with the super, and it's always awkward to me when people are like, well, how much do you charge for this? If you can just link them, here's my price list. They can decide if that's something that's good for them, a good fit, not a good fit, whatever. It takes out a lot of the awkwardness of how much do you charge and trying to come up with a thing and have a website, have a price list. It will make your life so much easier, and it'll get you more commissions than if you don't. But I mean, for me, I know if I am interested in something from somebody and they don't have a website, I kind of assume they're probably not that serious about what they're doing, and that means that they're not going to ever be very well known, and so the artwork is not going to go up in value. Here's how my thought process is. I mean, yeah, you want to buy things because you're interested in it, but part of the thing with art is everyone's always hoping that that artist ends up super famous and their artwork ends up being worth a lot of money. If somebody didn't even take the time to put together a website, I'm going to go ahead and assume they probably aren't serious, so they're probably not planning to do this long term, in which case that artwork is probably not going to go up in value. It's not an investment. You can buy it because it's pretty, but it's not really an investment at that point. So another thing to keep in mind, just get that website going. If this is something you're making a business of, make sure you've got a website. And it's easy to do websites now, especially like I do it through WordPress, which I really like. It makes it really easy to have a really nice, very professional looking website without having to hire somebody to do it for you. It's just so easy to do the website these days. Katrina said, what is the difference between workable fixative and texture fixative? Okay, workable fixative is something that you're supposed to be able to work over, but it doesn't really add texture. It's not ever really good for colored pencil. I don't ever like that. It's not meant for colored pencil. It's not like you can run into archival issues later on. The touch-up texture or texture fixative, I just forget the names. This one is made specifically for colored pencil, and it doesn't just make it so you can add another layer. It actually makes it so that you have more tooth on the paper so your next layer, it has something to stick to. Workable fixative doesn't do that. It has a tendency to make it so it's less workable. It's not helpful. It's not going to make it so you can put more layers of colored pencil. That's more useful for if you're doing like graphite or pastels. I think you use that a lot, but for colored pencil, it's not a good fit in most cases. Alejandro, I didn't say that right. Alejandro wants to say, it must be getting late. My brain is already shutting down. Alejandro asks, what are some good colored pencils to start off with? I'm trying to get into it. Okay, it depends on what your goals are. I mean, if you are just, depends on what you want. I mean, okay, the Faber-Castell Polychrome was one of my absolute favorites, except for their white. Like I said, go with luminance or Derwent drawing. Make sure you get that to go with your pencils if you are going to go with the Faber-Castell, or the Polychromos. But that one is probably my most go-to pencil. Caran d'Ache luminance are wonderful, all light fast. The Faber-Castell, all but 2 in the set of 120, I believe it are light fast. Those are both good, but honestly, if you're just getting started, probably wouldn't invest in the luminance. They're very expensive. The Polychromos are much more, I think, manageable price-wise when you're starting off, and they're just a solid, good pencil. It honestly comes down to your budget. I mean, your budget may allow for luminance to be a good fit, because they are an excellent pencil. I always think when people say they're starting off that it's where I was at the time, where I didn't have a lot of money to spend on pencils, so that is something to keep in mind. The Derwent Pro Color, I love. Performance-wise, probably my favorite pencil. Unfortunately, like a lot of them, almost half, not quite half, but I mean a lot of those pencils are not light fast, so that's a definite negative for me with those. But performance-wise, the Derwent Pro Color are probably my favorite. Let's see, what else? Those are probably my top pencils. Yeah, those would be what I would consider. Most people, though, I would suggest the Polychromos and get yourself a wax-based white, either Derwent Drawing or Luminance White, because those are available open stock on like Dick Blick or Jerry's Artorama. Morticia said an ex-coworker has both sides of the business card full of text, like a CV. Yeah, that's not, don't recommend. Not so. Amy Landino, thank you, Valerie. Amy Landino, you can find her, she's got a blog. Well, she had a blog. I actually haven't looked at her stuff lately, but I know she was making videos, and if you can look up her old videos, so much good marketing advice. And her podcast. I loved her podcast because she interviews people that also give great marketing advice. So really, really good there. Sarah says the same thing. Landino. There we go. Go back. It just scrolled too far. She said that, or Sarah said she's back to the classic Amy, I think, for the past few months, by the way. Oh, I may have to look up her stuff again. Like, well, I don't have time to watch a bunch of vlogs, so I don't, unless the person's, like, super funny, and I do it because I want to watch someone funny. Hers were more serious, and it just wasn't a fit for my time schedule, so I hadn't watched her in a while, so I'll have to look that up again. Okay, let's see. LOL9 said, is it okay if you do more colored pencil tutorials with OMS on here? Is it okay? I think you're asking me to do more of those, and I'm sure I will in the future. Yes, Ariziel said, you said my name right, just call me Faith, though. I'm never going to remember that. I'm so bad with names. I like the name Faith, too. I watch your videos, your vids always. This is the first time I caught live. Yay! May I ask, can I use oil in polychromos to achieve the smooth outcome? I do not recommend it at all. It can cause some archival issues. It might look cool at first, but it causes archival issues, and then it doesn't dry quite right, and it makes it so you can't really layer on top of it. I do not recommend it. It is definitely, it's something that you see a lot of crafters do, but if you are serious and you want your work to last, do not recommend using like baby oil people will use. No. Like, okay, I guess it depends on which way. Technically, like oil paint, some people will try to put oil paint on top, and that can cause some issues. Baby oil is a 100% do not do it. Don't use non-art supplies for, you didn't specify which, but I know a lot of people, there are videos showing you how to use baby oil with colored pencils, and that's more of a crafter thing, not someone who's creating artwork that you want to last long term. If you're having problems, you said you're having problems decreasing the vibrancy, then add more layers. That's how you're going to get the vibrancy. More layers. Work with a lighter hand so that you can get more layers, and lots of layers, you'll get that vibrancy up. The paper you're using makes a difference too, because I tried doing some stuff on, what was it? Strathmore Bristol Vellum. I do not like with colored pencil. I can never get the color saturation dark enough. It's the paper. The, what was it? The Strathmore, there's a hair like just touching me and it's driving me crazy. The Strathmore colored pencil paper, God, I hated that stuff. And that one could not get the color saturation as dark as I can on other paper. So sometimes it's just the paper you're using. Did I use grid lines before? I'm a grid user and I want to improve it to freehand. I don't like grids personally. I find it easier if I want, like, it's faster and more accurate for me to freehand than to use grids. Grids are just too much work, and I don't feel like I'm saving time than just freehanding. Because I can freehand all of this, it just takes me time. So I don't personally use grids. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it if it works for you, but it's definitely not my go-to method. But it can be done. I just don't. For me, I just wasn't saving time. It wasn't making, I mean, the point of grids would be to be more accurate. I can draw perfectly accurate without it. And it was definitely costing me more time to set up the grids than to just freehand and get it accurate that way. Jasmine said, I hope you don't mind me asking, but are you planning to draw in graphite soon? Yes, I actually need to. I was just thinking about that today. That's a medium I need to get some more work done in, for sure. I may use the Strathmore colored pencil paper for that. It works fine with graphite, just not so much for colored pencil. They should have had it tested by actual colored pencil artists before they released that stuff. Dale said, not familiar with the term open stock. Does that mean you can buy individual pencils as opposed to just sets? That's exactly what it means. For me, I won't use a medium that I can't, or like a pencil especially, that only comes in the set, because what happens then if you run out? How do you get more of that pencil? It's very important to me that everything be available in open stock, and all of these, you know, luminance, polychromos, even all of the Derwent pencils, everything should be available, or is available, and as it should be, with open stock. So, like, yes, available individually? That is a good question. Oh, there we go. I sometimes forget. I assume everyone knows everything that's in my brain, so let me know if you are unfamiliar with any of the terms I use. That scrolled too far. Mara said, with the colors, you said you're doing her hair and face. Are you dividing the rest of her that way too? Just basically part of her hand, part of her face here, and her hair, and then the rest will be color, except her dress is in black and white anyway, so that would kind of be black and white, but not black, not the same level. I don't know if that makes sense. Basically, the only thing I'm getting like creative on is from here up. Sarah Makes Art said that Amy recently did videos on the 10 habits of highly successful people and another on how she edits her Instagram photos. Interesting. I will definitely have to go watch some of her stuff. Kaylee said, I love your work. Thank you. I'm new to colored pencils. Which ones would you recommend I start out with? I just answered that, but because of the delay, it's probably just a difference there. So, again, polychromos, luminance, Durant Pro Color. Depends on your needs. Rachel said, what do you do if you're layering? Actually, Derwent Drawing, by the way, I love too, but that wouldn't be like a standalone set. I would use those with other pencils there because there's only 24 colors and they're all like earth tones. But I love the Derwent Drawing pencils. Rachel said, what do you do if you're layering as you add layers, it gets more and more muddy. How do you fix it? Well, in this case, spray the texture fixative and continue layering. Kind of start over on top of that. If you're working with powder blender, that can happen if you're not spraying where you probably should be. If you keep layering and layering and layering, it will just get muddy. You actually end up knocking a lot of product of the pencil off the paper instead of getting additional layers as they should be. But if you're working, I mean, I guess it depends on how you're using. With OMS, don't push. I mean, I'd have to see what it is because I don't really have a problem with OMS stuff getting muddy. Watch that you don't blend like black over the yellow, that sort of thing. Just, you know, blend the one area you're working on. Marcel's painting channel says, hello, sister. You messed with me for a minute because I'm like, wait, did Leanna make a video? Leanna, is that you? Did you change your name to Marcel's? Oh, I said Marcus. It's Marcel's. It like really weirded. I'm definitely getting tired, but I was like, wait, what? I don't think, Leanna, you didn't make, why would you call yourself Marcel? Yeah, my brain's not working tonight. I'm tired. Kaylee said, I would love a graphite tutorial. Use graphite all the time. Been drawing 11 years. Would love some new tips. I am going to have to do that very soon. Arizel, Faith, hey, I remembered that time, said, I'm using a vellum board, just a cheap one though, because I'm still saving for Stonehenge. That will be why you're having a hard time getting your color saturation, then that makes total sense then. Because the reason that the vellum is so hard to get the color saturation what you can with other paper is the vellum doesn't have enough tooth for the pencil to stick to. So it's almost like everything's very muted on that. It still can look amazing, but it tends to be more muted, so that's why it's not my go-to. You just can't get as many layers. Dennis said, when drawing black spots on a wild animal in colored pencil, do you do the spots and the fur together, or do you draw the fur first and then the spots so the dark doesn't get mixed in? Depends on how I'm doing it. I usually work them in their own separate space, and then when I blend with the, like with my, I'm grabbing a paintbrush, like when I go over with the OMS, I would just blend, like let's say this is black, I would just blend the black area and then the tan or brown separately. So it really depends on which layer I'm at. There's not a definite one right answer on that. But the big thing is when I do blend, I don't want to blend across both unless I'm okay with the black getting on the tan. And sometimes I am okay, so sometimes I'll blend over both. But usually, yeah, usually I draw in the black separately, but I will typically, I don't usually leave the black by itself. I will layer other colors into it so it's not super flat. I mean, like you're seeing me do here. I've put the brown and then I'm going on top with this. Now, if I were working with powder blender, then I might do brown and then the black, like I'm doing here, because the way that it layers, the black gets super dark. But when I'm working with OMS alone, like on non-sanded paper, then it honestly depends on it depends, because I can think of so many times where I would do one and then I'd say, no, they're in this other situation, I would flip it and do it the other way. So I don't have a definite answer for you, unfortunately. Play with it. Try it on. Whenever you're not sure on something like that, this would be a good example. Like where you're like, should I do this first or should I do it this way? Do a little test on a scratch piece of paper and see what looks best. See which way gave you the results that you're looking for. Peggy said, hi Lisa, do you often use graphite transfer paper? What are your thoughts on it? No, I usually, if I use transfer paper, I'm using it on an acrylic or an oil painting, or what will be an acrylic or an oil. And I use it, I use the black or the white from Low Cornell. Those are my favorites. The graphite I was never a real fan of. The graphite lines are hard to get rid of. They tend to stay. I don't use them when I'm going to be using colored pencil. If I'm going to use colored pencil and I don't want to use, like in this case, obviously I couldn't just trace over my monitor. I would use a projector and just my graphite pencil. But the graphite transfer paper, actually it would work okay with this because you can layer, you'd hide it on this. But like my regular colored pencil work on, I always say regular. This is regular now. Colored pencil work on watercolor paper, I would not. I personally don't like the transfer paper method, no matter what paper, because I feel like I can never get rid of those lines. I like to draw it with a light hand with a graphite pencil. There was a big thump. Huh. Oh, I bet they're picking up the trash. That actually makes sense now. Kind of scared me. Like, what? Did someone bang on my door? Marcel's Painting Channel said, congrats on making 200K. Thank you. Supporters, thank you. That was very exciting. I still can't believe that happened. Rohan said, what tips do you have for drawing fur and feathers and polychromos without getting any white spaces while retaining the string? Without getting any white spaces while retaining the stringy look. I'm not sure what you're asking. I'm going to ask you to reword that because I'm not sure I understand the question there. And part of it may just be that my brain is tired. Archer said, about making art, about marketing and making it a living. Do you believe that going to university for fine art and getting a degree might be beneficial to start up for making a living from art? I don't think it makes a difference, honestly. It can make a difference. I should say that. It can. Depends on the class. Depends on the teachers. I know so many artists with a degree in art who are working at Macy's. That's not helpful. I mean, that degree in art didn't do them any good. It can. I mean, it depends on everything depends on so many factors, but it's not necessary. Can it help? Sure, it can help. Can just spending all your time that you're awake drawing help? That could help too. There's so many like factors to say. Yes, it can help. I think that if you've got the time, if you've got the money, it's not going to hurt. Okay, it can hurt your wallet because it's expensive, but I don't think that it's a must. But it can be beneficial. But like I said, I've known of so many people who had a degree in art and they had no idea how to market themselves. They were never taught to market. They should have taken business and marketing classes. They were never taught to market. They were never taught to do the things to sell the work. Sometimes, some schools, the artist was able to make connections that way. And some artists had such amazing teachers that it formed in kind of, it helped their style. It helped them learn techniques. And lots of artists, it didn't. It depends on it's so much on the school and the teachers and even the artists. I mean, maybe you just didn't, maybe it's a good teacher and you just didn't connect with them. There's so many factors. So can it be beneficial? Absolutely. Is it a must? It may be best for you. Everybody's going to be different too. I mean, I did it without and I'm doing just fine. It really does depend on so many factors. But I mean, going into debt, starting out as an artist in debt is definitely a scary thing. That's something to keep in mind because you're probably not going to be making a whole lot of money to start with. It's not like, I mean, if you go to school to be a lawyer, yeah, you're in debt, but you can probably get a job easier than as an artist. With an artist, you've got to build up that following. Start doing that if you do go to school. Start building up that following. Start doing your social media while you're in school for sure. But I think that you can definitely learn some very beneficial things in school, but a lot of that you can learn online too. So beneficial, it can be. How's that? Thanks, DJ. And that just scrolled too far. LOL9 said, aside from making art, what do you usually do on a daily basis? Gosh, what do I do? Today I cleaned my apartment. I do that every Wednesday before the live stream. It's like my routine. Well, It depends on the day. Thursdays, like tomorrow, I'll be recording the Colored Pencil podcast. I've got to record 2 episodes, I think, of that tomorrow. I need to start coming up with ideas for that. What would you guys like to hear on the Colored Pencil podcast? Give me some suggestions. But I've got that tomorrow, and then I've got to edit a video. I've got to edit the peacock and marker. I really need to get caught up on some emails. I've got to do postcards. I need to get some more done with that for Patreon. I need to work on this, so that's art. I play Warcraft sometimes. I like to, you know, like I was saying before, collect my pets and my mounts. I don't raid or anything anymore. That was way too time consuming. What do I do? Thursday, every day is different. Friday, what am I doing Friday? Friday, I'm recording another video. I'm going to do the Smart Art Box. I'm so excited about that, to play with the 360 camera. What else? A lot of video editing. I'm really boring. I go on walks. I like to walk my dogs. I'm trying to think. God, I really am boring. What else? Sunday, Monday, Tuesday are my husband's days off. So that's the day we'll go to, like, we'll either go to the zoo. I like to go take photos. Go to the zoo. We always go to dinner. Saltgrass Steakhouse. They have these appetizers with shrimp and jalapenos and cheese, and it is the most amazing thing. I do that once a week. What else? We usually do our errands on those days. I have the most boring life ever, apparently. Why do you have to ask that? That's a little depressing now that I think about it. I don't do a whole lot of anything. I rollerblade sometimes up to the front office of my apartment to pick up packages if I have mail. That is it. I am boring. Let's see. Faith said, I remembered again. I actually tried polychromos on a much rougher, like, sketch pad, and the outcome color vibrance, but I didn't like the paper because it's thin. Yeah, that definitely can be a challenge with paper and colored pencil. It's just finding the right paper for you. Try the Arches. I'm really liking that one right now. Arches hot press watercolor paper. Let's see. Katrina said, does the texture fixative your coloring pencil artwork from rubbing off? I'm not reading that right. Does texture fixative your coloring pencil artwork from, I think you're missing a word there, keep the color pencil from rubbing off onto the other paper? No. It can still rub off into other paper. I mean, I put glassine. If I'm going to put a sheet of paper, it's going to be glassine, because glassine, nothing will stick to it, and it's archival. So that's what I put over in between. Now, the final fixative will help with that. But, I mean, anytime with this, I found, maybe I'm just not putting it on super heavy because I'm afraid to mess stuff up. But I can always get a little bit to, okay, that hasn't, now that'll show you the difference. Here, this hasn't been sprayed. See how much comes off on my finger? This has been sprayed. Not nearly, actually that's probably still dirty. Let's use a different finger. Not nearly as much as an area. You can see that's a lot darker, but some will still come off. Tracy said, how do you decide on a name logo, and how do you check that what you choose is not already in use? Well, you can do a search to see if something's in use. But for the name, most artists it's going to be best just use your name. You don't need to make up, like, the only reason I'm using Lachri and not just Lisa Clow is I started art before I got married, and I hated my maiden name. I knew that was not a name I was going to keep. I'm not a fan of the name that comes from, and I didn't like this name, or I'm not a fan of the people that name derived from, my bio dad side of the family. I didn't feel like carrying that on, and I knew I would get married someday, and I didn't want to be changing my name partway through. So my name is a combination of my name and my sister Christy's, and technically now Leanna too. We found her 18 years later. Leanna works really well. We were lucky that her parents, or her mom, happened to name her a name that works with Lachri, but it didn't have to be. Like, I could have just used Lisa, in this case Lisa Clow, but like I said, I started before I got married, and I didn't want my name to change if my marital status changed. So that's why I did that, but you don't have to do that. What I actually used to use was Water of Life Studio, because all I painted was marine life. So, you know, living things in the water, and I thought it was great. And that name is used for so many different things. So I would definitely try to get something unique if you're going to make it up. But using your own name, there's no reason not that you can't just use your own name, unless, like me, you know, you think it might change, or you just don't like it, whatever. But you can use your own name for that. You don't have to come up with like a fancy studio name at all. Like, it doesn't have to be. As far as the logo, Keep it simple. My logo happened on accident. I'm using the goldfish, and that it was never supposed to be a logo. It was just, I needed to make a stamp with my name on it, and I had painted, it's actually the painting, you can't see it, but there's a painting up above my wall up there, and it has a little goldfish, and I ended up using, I cut him out in Photoshop and just used that for the stamp, and then people started assuming it was my logo, and so I just stuck with using the fish, but it was just that it was the right size to go on the stamp. It had nothing to do with me trying to make a logo. It never crossed my mind to make a logo. So a logo's not necessary, but if you do one, keep it simple. Don't overthink it. One of the things I would say is keep in mind most people, most artists use, if they're going to do a logo, they'll use a palette and a paintbrush. Everybody uses that. You might want to choose something else, something a little more unique. It can just be a random shape. Like, it doesn't, don't put too much thought into it, just something that you're going to use regularly. But I don't even know as an artist if you have to have a logo. I mean, your name, your artwork is the thing. The goldfish, like I said, it wasn't even intentional. I wasn't trying to make a logo. It just kind of happened. It worked out good for me because I actually really like him as a logo now. But definitely keep it simple. What I used for so many years, it was that stamp. It was too busy for a logo. Worked as a stamp, but it was definitely more too busy. The goldfish that I'm using now is more simple, but it's still, I just am running with it since that's how it started. But it probably, ooh, lightning. Yay, lightning. Oh, that might be blue lightning if my power goes out. But don't stress yourself out too. And thunder. Who would have thought lightning or thunder and lightning went together? But don't stress yourself out over like I have to find the perfect thing. Keep it simple and just use whatever that thing is, if that makes sense. I am rambling. I'm really tired. But just do a Google search for the name to see if you are going to do something like I tried with Water Life Studios. Just make sure it's not something that's super being used. And okay, here's the thing: when you name things, put a little more thought into stuff. Like, okay, so when we decided to name the last band that I was in, we had gone by Christian Ross, the lead singer's name forever, and it's getting kind of crazy out there. When we started trying to come up with names, he really wanted, was it Blackwater something? Blackwater, I forget what the second term was. Blackwater is an extremely negative term. It either, two main things it is. One, a really, really bad, like got in lots of trouble, did horrible things, a military unit, like not the government, it was separate, but anyway, they did horrible, horrible, horrible things. You don't want to be associated with that. I mean, the term Blackwater sounded kind of cool, but when you find out that it was used for something that was otherwise thought of as being very negative, the other term that Blackwater is used for is sewer water. Yeah, let's name our band Sewer Water. Good idea, Christian. I didn't let him live that one down. I made fun of him for that for a while. But, I mean, he was, like, determined that was going to be our name. And you look into it and you're like, wow, that means something totally different than what I thought it was going to mean. So, you know, do your research. Rachel said boring lives are okay. They leave more time to make great art. I'm going to go with you on that one. One of my favorite artists always says, keep the drama on your canvas and not in your life. See, I like that. I definitely don't have a lot of drama in my life. Itchy nose. That is the biggest drama I've had today, is my itchy nose. Yeah, I'm not a fan of drama, so I'm with you on that. Natalie said, do you have the phosphorescent stone drake or the time-lost protodrake yet? I got the time-lost protodrake by chance when it was super hard to get. I call it the pea drake because it's actually really ugly. I don't like the color of that one. I got it when it was just, I happened to be in the area and he spawned right next to me. It was like, oh my gosh. So yeah, I've had him for a while. And what was the other one you asked? This is a Warcraft thing, by the way, if you guys are like, what are they talking about? Phosphorescent stone drake. I don't remember. I have a few of the different stone drakes and I don't remember which one. I'm missing the one from, I think I have that one. I don't remember which one's which. I don't know. I think I do. But I might be mixing him and the other stone. I'm missing one stone drake. I'm missing the one from Oldham, the dungeon over there, the 5-man. I don't have the stone drake from him, but I have the one from the dungeon in... Crap, I can't remember the names of the kata. I hated kata. The other kata place. I have the other one. Let's see. Warcraft talk. We're nerds. Louise said, I would love a tutorial on how to handle light colored hair layering over dark, such as a border collie dog or horse with a light mane. that would be a good tutorial. And I will give you the tip now. Keep the light hair, like, just don't put dark first and try to put the light on top of it if you're working with colored pencil, because it's not going to get light. You're going to go too dark. Let the paper stay light in those cases. So definitely watch for that. But that would be a good tutorial. Louise says, I keep finding my light colors get dirty from dark places and it just doesn't look clean. You just have to be careful. Yeah, and that would be a good tutorial. But I mean, you have to be careful what you blend. Like here, I don't want to blend. I've got to be careful when I blend this. I'm not going to pull this straight up into the brown or I'm going to get muddy. I've got to keep the brown. I'll pull the brown into the black, but not the black into the brown. You've got to watch that where you've got a light area. Wash off your brush. If you're blending with OMS, rinse that off, clean it off before, when you switch from dark to the light. Always clean that off because you don't want to smudge those into each other. Alara said, Lachri fine art. My name is my feral druid's name. Alaria fine. Okay, that makes sense. That's a cool name. My first character on Warcraft was named Lachri. I don't play that one anymore. It was Alliance. Let's see. Going down. LOL said, as long as you're happy, it's not a boring life. Yeah, it doesn't seem boring until people are like, oh, what did you do today? I did a few pet battles in Warcraft and I vacuumed and drew. Let's see, I made some tea. Louise said, you may be able to do it with this drawing if the hair goes into the black of her dress. Yeah, and you'll see that in this one too. Especially, yeah, definitely with powder blender, you've got to watch because the colors do start smudging together and you just are careful. Like, that's where I'm not going to blend with the big soft tool brush. I'm going to blend with this little teeny guy and I'm going to keep the dark, use one of these little teeny blenders for the dark, one for the light. Don't, and the other thing is wipe your blender off in between. Don't just go, okay, I blended in black, now I can blend in the brown. No, it'll smudge into it. You can wipe it off on a paper towel or use a clean one, but you've got to keep your tools clean for those areas. See, I think you know the answer because the information, you keep giving me more and more information, like you know that's what's causing it. So you just have to be careful with those areas. Gail Perkins says, I use a Celtic Tree of Life as a logo in honor of mine and my husband's Welsh ancestry. That's awesome. That's cool because I like that it has meaning to you. Like the goldfish, the only meaning to me is he's cute. I don't really have meaning in him other than I love goldfish. Faith said, thanks again. What did you do or what was your mindset when you created your YouTube channel? Okay, I answered that one. She goes, I want to participate in this live stream. Yeah, that was just, I never thought my YouTube channel would turn into a channel in its own. It was just a place for me to upload videos so that I had something interesting on my website. It never, like I had no idea YouTube was what it was, even back then. So I just thought it was, you know, storage place for videos so I could embed them somewhere. Not a clue. I was really surprised when I was actually contacted by my MCN, who I'm still with. They helped a lot with getting me on a schedule and getting all of that. And just to be clear, I don't think you need an MCN anymore. There's plenty of information for free on YouTube on how to grow a channel, but at the time there wasn't. So at the time, they actually did help me a lot with like best practices and stuff. There just weren't videos out there at the time. No one was teaching how to do that stuff. But yeah, I had no idea. Like when I started getting notifications from email that I got a new subscriber, it was like, oh, a who? A what? I don't even know what this word means. Why would someone subscribe to me? So I was pretty excited. Jesse says, I just made your mouth water. That shrimp sounds so, it is so good. It has onion on it. It is so amazing. And it's gluten-free, so I can have it. So that's like the best, like, oh, that place is amazing. But that's one of like, once a week we go there and I get that. Gail Perkins said, I was in the finals. We did oldies and Motown, and you were not boring whatsoever. Thank you. See, you guys are artists, though, so my boring life seems normal to you. I talk to friends who are like, I went here, and I did this, and I went, I'm like, I like it at home. I like to stay home. I don't like to go anywhere. Let's see. Mara said black said, is that thunder you're hearing? That's awesome. It is. It's going out there. I think it's only supposed to go on for a short time, though, unfortunately. We did not get many thunderstorms this year. It made me sad. Yay for no tornadoes, but boo for no fun. We're like way... I was going to say we're dehydrated. Yes, Texas is very dehydrated right now. We did not get enough rainfall. Andrew said, have you used gloss medium in your work? And if so, how? I use it with my acrylic painting. I have used it quite a bit when I'm glazing. LL9 said, do you like traveling? Have you been out of the country before? I've never been out of the country, which is funny because I lived right above TJ when I was in California, but I never went. Whoa, that's some wind. I would feel bad about my wind chimes going crazy for the neighbors, but they've been irritating me with their bumping music lately, so they can just listen to my banging around wind chimes. But no, I've not left the country. I don't like to travel. I go once a year to California to visit my parents, which is where I grew up. And yeah, that's the extent of that. I've never really been big on going. I'm very boring. I like home. I like home a lot. And luckily, my husband's the same way. We just like, both of us, well, he plays more video games than I do now. But, yeah, we don't do a whole lot. Sarah Makes Art said, today my aunt asked what's new with me besides art. I haven't answered. Honestly, the answer is really nothing, and that's okay with me. Oh, good. You guys are just like me. Like, seriously, I leave my house like 3 times a week, just on my husband's days off when we go do errands, and I'll go get lunch or dinner. But that's it. Other than that, I'm home. JJ said, I work in charcoal, and I love contrast. How would I get contrast in, say, a white or black dog? Is the background going to be key here? Well, no. I mean, contrast is, it's this... like anything else, put your darks where the dark goes, and then in your case, if you're using the charcoal, you're going to leave the white of the paper showing through. Ideally to start with, leave more white of the paper. Let your brights stay lighter than you think you're going to need to be and slowly darken up because it's hard to lighten charcoal back up. It's not just in the background, it's in the subject itself. It's in everything. Everything wants, I mean, here, look at the contrast between the darks and the lights, and obviously I'm not done, I've got a lot to go, but get that contrast. Everywhere, not just the background. Sometimes, actually, one of my painting that has a really high contrast, the background is very similar to the painting. It's the dog itself. It's up there, Greyhound. But the whites of the dog, the lights of the dog stand out so much. So it's in everything. It's definitely not just the background. Make sure you leave the white of the paper and slowly go darker with charcoal just because it is so hard to lighten things back up. I mean, it erases to an extent, but only to an extent. So maintain the white of the paper to keep the white and slowly... The white of the paper, you're not going to have everything stay white, but start slowly as you build to darkening it up. Hope that makes sense. Rohan said, rephrasing my previous question, sorry. Oh, no, it's not you. I probably just don't understand stuff because I'm tired. Can you give me some tips on drawing fur without leaving white spaces in between? White spaces in between what? I think that's what I'm missing on your question. So, like white spaces of the paper showing through, use a sharper pencil and use a lighter hand and lots of layers to build up. I'm not sure what you mean with the... and without leaving white spaces. Oh, I think, okay, so earlier on, I'm actually going to leave this for now. We're pretty much done with the live stream. But you can see how I'm building clumps and clusters. That's kind of the lesson here. And I'll blend this, and then I'll layer, and I'll blend it, and I'll layer, and I'll continue on with that. I am shedding. Is it molting season? Okay, so I talked about with colored pencil, where if you want to draw fur, you need to leave the white. If you don't have a white pencil, leave the white of and you're not using touch-up texture titanium white, you want to leave the white showing through where those white gaps are. You don't want to use that method. So your other two options are either going to be get an opaque white pencil if you need white, luminance white, drawing Chinese white are your best options, or my absolute favorite is to mix these two products. This is from brushandpencil.com. This is colored pencil titanium white and colored pencil touch-up texture. I mix these together. This is like, it's in a little nail polish bottle. It's a liquid. You mix it together, and I've got a video. I think it's on the front page of my website, how to get fine white lines with colored pencil. Go watch that, and I'll show you how to use this. This is the best way. It's like, those are must-have products for me with colored pencil now. Way easier than leaving the white of the paper show through. I'm sorry, your first question, I think, was worded fine. I think I just misunderstood. I'm sorry. Faith said, can you extend the live stream? No, my stomach's growling. I'm hungry. I need to go figure out what I'm going to eat. Did you inherit your art drawing skills, or did you find art at university, or practice and practice? Practice and practice. I was very sick as a kid. I have celiac disease, but we didn't know that at the time, so I was just always sick. I mean, if an illness came through my school, I was guaranteed to catch it. So I just didn't feel very well quite often. So I drew a lot, and that worked out really well for me in the end, but just a lot of experience. I mean, my grandfather drew. He's the only one in my family who really like drew well, or drew the style that I like well, but I don't think that it's an inherited thing. It can be, I think a lot of people think that it's inherited because, okay, my parents drew really well and now I drew really well. Yeah, probably because you had an interest because your parents were doing something and you were interested because they were doing it, or they taught you. I mean, I don't think that art has to be inherited. I think that it comes down more to how much time you spent and if you were interested in it or not. Some people are just not interested. I mean, let's go with Christy, my full sister. She can't draw for crap, is not interested in drawing, but she can cook anything. I'm the opposite. We were raised by the same parents. Everything was the same. I don't think it's an inherited thing. It's just who was interested in what. But it's not, I just don't believe it's something that's inherited. I think it's something that you can learn from your parents. If your parents were artists, it's very likely you'll want to be an artist too, because we want to copy our parents, or our parents showed us how to do it, or our parents supplied us with the supplies that another child may not have had because their parents didn't draw, so they didn't think to keep those supplies in the house. I just personally don't believe it's inherited. I think that anybody who wants to be an artist can be an artist regardless of genes. Let's see. Jacqueline says it's nice to hear someone else like to stay home. I know being an artist is just the perfect job for me because I get to be here. Like, my work uniform are sweats and a tank top. Like, that's what I live in. So it's kind of perfect. I basically work in pajamas. Let's see. Oh, thunder makes me so happy. Petty Picasso says, "LOL, no tornadoes. Then the wind chimes will start rattling." Yeah, I'd have to take them down when the wind gets too bad because they can get loud. Normally, I take them down because I want to be considerate of my neighbors, but they've been such jerks lately with their music that I'm like, whatever. My wind chimes are fine. Also, you're probably going to be listening to Harry Potter while you sleep tonight. Enjoy. My studio is above their bedroom, so I'm like, well, I don't understand why you have to bump your music in the day. This could go badly for you because I'm awake all night. Anyway, that's me being petty. Let's see. Also, I'm in the mood to watch Harry Potter. I normally, I listen to everything with headphones because I don't want it to bug my neighbors, but when they do stuff like that, I'm like, why am I bothering to try to be considerate when they're not being considerate? They're moving next month, so it'll be fine. Let's see. JPC13 Art says, we have been getting a lot of rain here in the south part of Texas. Oh, I'm jealous. I didn't realize you lived in Texas. It's been going on for about 3 days now. Oh, wow. That actually could be bad for you guys with the flooding you had. All I want to do is go to the pool. Let's see. Marcel's Painting Channel. What is your favorite artist? Mine's Vincent van Gogh. I'm fascinated by Van Gogh. Something about him. I think his mental illness, that's what fascinates me so much with him. I love a lot of his paintings, but I'm super fascinated by just his life and how that influenced his art. So that definitely, the correlation there is I don't know why. I'm very, very interested in that. So with you on him. I don't have one favorite artist, though. There's so many I like. Like, right now, I love Brian Holland. I love Jason Morgan. I love his style of his wildlife. I love Alan Willett. I love, he's a big favorite of mine. John By Fine Art. Love his stuff. Aaron Blaze. I mean, so many artists are, I don't have one favorite at all. Jacqueline said, hope you don't have floods in your area. Yeah, no, not usually here. We did a few years ago. There were some major floods up here, but this actually, I didn't live here at the time, but the creek that's right next to me did flood. In this building, I know they had evacuated. It didn't end up causing damage, but I think they've changed stuff. They've done some more construction in the area, so hopefully that won't happen again. They did a lot of work over on, part of the creek, so hopefully that'll help, but it was bad back then. Luckily, I wasn't living here at the time. I'm on the 3rd floor, so it won't get me, but if they evacuate, then that affects me. But no, that was the only time I've lived in Texas since 2008, and I've only seen flooding in North Texas the one time. Fiddle Joel said, thanks for your time. Thanks for joining me. LL9 said, is it raining here? It is, and actually, usually when it rains is when I go dump water on my balcony to, like, clean off because it gets, like, dusty and dirty. So I sweep all the time, but I wait until it rains so I don't bug the neighbors. I should not care about my neighbors right now. I'm mad at them. But I don't want to bug the neighbors, so I usually, when it rains, that's when I dump the water, so it's wet anyway. But I'll probably go do that now. Esme is laughing that I threw my sister under the bus. No, she knows she can't draw. And that I can't cook. She's not unaware of my cooking skills. She's talented, just not, like, she's good at other things. Let's see. Oh, I guess I can stop this recording because I'm not drawing right now. Esme says cooking is an art form too. Yeah, and she makes cakes. She'll do the pastry stuff. She was a pastry chef. Oh, dear God, the stuff this girl can make. I can't eat any of it because of the celiac disease, but they are beautiful, what she does. Mara says, my grade 6 teacher loved my drawings of women. I kind of exaggerated their chest size. I couldn't get proportions correct back then. Gail Perkins says, I don't travel because I can't take my bird with me. Yeah, see, that's the thing with me. It's hard because of my dogs especially. I can't board them because Italian Greyhounds, first off, they would have a heart attack. But Italian Greyhounds, so many people I know of who have either boarded them or had someone babysit, they come home and either the dog ran away because people aren't used to handling sight hounds, or they got broken legs because someone dropped them. And I'm like, it's just not even worth it. I'm just staying here. So yeah, no. When I go once a year to visit my parents in California, my husband takes his vacation time. It sounds so sad. He takes one of his vacation weeks and he stays home with the dogs while I'm on vacation at my parents. That's so sad. LL9 likes Harry Potter too. Faith said, how many portraits did you make so far? I don't know, a lot. I have no idea. Like, I have so many paintings that aren't even on my website. Like, I've done thousands of paintings. I mean, I've been doing this professionally for 20 years. So thousands and thousands of paintings. I have no idea how many portraits. Julia said, what do you do if you get discouragement from other people of what you are doing? It also happens to me. It happens to everyone. And I think we'll go ahead and leave this here because I think this is a very important thing for people to hear. Every single artist, it doesn't matter how great they are, how bad they are, or like if they're newer, I don't want to say bad, but like if you're a newer artist so you're not as good as a more experienced artist, no matter what your skill level, you will have someone try to tear you down. People have no freaking manners, and especially when it comes to the internet. They will say all kinds of things that are completely inappropriate, sometimes like really inappropriate, but it's like, I don't know if people just weren't taught manners, if people just think, oh, it's the internet, I can say what I want. Don't ever let that discourage you. Those aren't the people you're trying to impress. If they're going to leave those kind of, what I do, I'm actually pretty like block heavy, or my blocking finger, my block on social media hand is pretty heavy or pretty overactive. My attitude is, if you want to be disrespectful, if you want to be a jerk, I'll block you. I'm not going to deal with you. You mean nothing to me. I don't want to hear it. So, I mean, now, that's not to say that there isn't good constructive criticism. Let's say I ask somebody for advice. Hey, what do you think of this? And they're like, hey, maybe you could improve on this. Maybe you could do that. That's different. But when someone's like full on rude, just being discouraging for the sake of being a jerk, I'm not going to talk to them. I want nothing to do with you. Like, I don't care about your opinion. If that's the type of person you are, I don't care about your opinion. Why would I care what you say to me on social media? Block. And I know a lot of people aren't like that. A lot of people are like, no, let people say whatever they want. You can say whatever you want. I can block whoever I want. It's a great deal. But for me, that's what I do, because I'm not going to let other people discourage me. If I'm happy with something that I did and somebody else doesn't like it, that's on them, not me. I don't need them to come to me and tell me how disturbing it is. Or, how, just sometimes people can be really, really mean. My big thing, actually, that people are super mean to me about, more than anything else, is my voice. I talk too fast. They hate my voice. Sorry. I'm not sure what you want me to do about that, but I am very, like, delete happy on those comments. I'm not going to change that. I can't change that. This is how I talk. But, people, no matter who you are, that's the thing, though, that I want you to remember. No matter what skill level you're at, you will always have someone tell you what you're doing isn't real art. What Brian Holland is one of my favorite artists, and he posted something a while back. This was a couple of years ago. One of his pieces, and somebody's like, that's not real art. Who are you to decide what real art is? Why are you being negative just to be a jerk? I mean, you're just a troll. Go away. I have no time for you. So, I mean, no, but the point there is, every single artist gets it. Everyone gets nasty comments, especially on the internet. In my case, I just block them. I don't have to deal with you again. If that's your personality type, I had a girl who was doing that to me. I don't even think she realized she was doing it. No matter what I posted, she had to be negative about it. Well, I would have done this differently. You should have done this. Everything. I don't want to deal with you. Block. It's a nice feature on social media. So, I mean, that's kind of my attitude about that. I just don't deal with it. But expect it at the same time. It is going to happen and you cannot let it discourage you. We all have it. And I probably, part of me wants to share those negative comments a little bit more often just so you guys can see everybody gets it. Everybody has it happen to them. Don't ever let it discourage you. Don't ever let it make you feel like, because I've had moments where I'm like, why am I even making this tutorial if all I'm going to get are these jerks making mean comments about it? Because for some reason the negative stuff is what sticks with us more than the positive, which is a terrible thing. We all do it, but you have to get like, I mean, expect it, but learn to ignore it at the same time. I mean, again, constructive criticism can be helpful. If someone's like, hey, your blonde hair would look more realistic if you didn't use yellow. That's constructive criticism. Somebody who just wants to come in and be negative and tell you they hate what you've done, there's the door. I don't need to deal with you. So that's my attitude. But again, just remember, it happens to everybody. That is just a part of being an art. It's a part of everything, and especially anything you put out there online. One of the things that I do like to do, if you have it happen to you and it is discouraging to you, almost every single time, not almost, every single time, somebody is like super nasty about comments. They hate what I did. This is bad. Whatever. You go look up their work. If you can look up their stuff, if they've got a public profile, they're always not very skilled themselves, like at all. And so I think that they're trying to make themselves feel better by tearing you down. That happens a lot. Or they're not even artists at all. So, I mean, again, expect it and don't be afraid of that block button. It is your friend. As I said, I was recently told to draw other things like robots and animals instead of just people. You draw what makes you happy. I mean, oh my God, that sounded like a gunshot more than, that was scary. I was like, what the world? Wow. It freaked me out. But anyway, usually I tell people draw what you're most interested in. I mean, people could want me to draw a car, want me to draw whatever. I'm not interested in cars. It's not my thing. I'm probably not going to do as good of a job because I'm just not interested in it. Not that I couldn't, but you definitely, I don't feel like you should have to do something because somebody else tells you you should. I used to have a friend, and this was constructive criticism. This was not someone being a jerk. But I would do my surreal scenes, like a scene inside a scene, and I did the landscape portion, and he would try to tell me, I think you'd sell more if you just did simple landscapes and stopped trying to do the surreal stuff. Now, in his mind, that was what he was interested in, but that's not what I was interested in. I'm going to paint what I mean, you're the artist. They're not. If they want to be an artist, they can be an artist. Do what you are passionate about. Draw what you're passionate about. That is what's going to show in your artwork more than anything else. Faith wants to know what time it is. It is 10:06. About time to wrap this up. I'm just going to go through a couple more questions, make sure I'm kind of caught up. I think we're good. Jacqueline says she has the opposite. Everyone on Facebook says my work is wonderful when I know it's mediocre. Those are good people. Plus, okay, now this could also be a possibility. You may be better than you think you are. It's so common to think, like, be so critical of ourselves. And those are probably good friends that are encouraging you, and that's good for you. That's actually a good thing. You don't want, trust me, it sucks when people start tearing it. I would rather someone tell me my work is better than it is than people just constantly tearing you down, because it'll make you just like, why am I doing this? I'm not going to do it anymore. So, I mean, I don't have it constant, but just even what I get, I know can be discouraging, and I'm fairly confident in what I do. So that, I just don't want anyone to let that make you stop. And I think that's what bugs me so much when people think that you need their opinion on something being bad or whatever. I hate to see it make someone stop art. I know of so many people who could have been amazing, but they gave up on drawing. They gave up on painting altogether because they got too many negative comments early on from people. They were surrounding themselves with jerks is what was happening. But I've seen so many people that I know could have been amazing. They gave up because of that. And that's why it really, I'm so passionate about that. It makes me so mad when people leave those comments and everyone does the whole, oh, it comes with the territory. Yeah, but they're still a jerk. Yeah, it comes with the territory, but they're still being a jerk. They're still the one in the wrong. Just don't let it discourage you, I guess, is all I'm trying to say there. It happens to everybody. Yeah, Caitlin says, I hate it when people say art isn't a real job. Yeah, my mother-in-law does not think I have a real job, which is okay. I have family members who think that I don't really work, so that's kind of funny. Anyway, I think we're all caught up tonight. Thank you guys so much. Yeah, Gail says don't want Lisa to fry our equipment. Good point, actually. I should probably turn the computers off. Everything's in surge protectors, so I should should be okay. But yeah, we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you again for joining today. Make sure to check out the moderators, Joseph and Valerie. They both have their channels. They are linked in the video description. Great art channels. You'll want to subscribe to them. Thanks for joining. I don't know what we're doing. Well, probably we'll be continuing to work on this because this is a bigger project. Or, it's not even that big. This guy could do fast. I'm being slow. We'll probably continue on this next week. So I'll see you guys next week. And yeah,